What up, y'all? Okay, so today we're going to be doing a full set review of Marvel Spider-Man. We're going to be starting from the white cards and kind of going from there, using a website called mtgset.review, and it's made by one person who has a Patreon. You can go support them. I'll leave a link to the website in the description, and you'll be able to check it out yourself if you want to, review it with a friend or whatever. If you're doing your own review, whatever. But yeah, set's really cool. You can refine it by whatever, or the site's really cool. You can refine it by, rarity, color, and yeah. But yeah, so we're gonna start from the white cards, starting from commons, and we're gonna go from there. And so how we're gonna do this is we're gonna go by rarity and cost. So commons up to the highest costing common, etc. uncommons. All right, something to note about this set that a lot of people have kind of commented on a bit already, just in general, from say the professor from Tellurian Academy to people ranting on Twitter to anywhere. The set does feel a little empty. From the words of Mark Rosewater himself, who was one of the leads on it, I believe he was co-lead, along with forget the exact name of the other person involved, but Rosewater is the one who made this post, so that's why it sticks in my mind. Yeah, so essentially this set was supposed to be commander only, and I believe it was designed initially around the time of Assassin's Creed, and all that stuff was done around the time of kind of mini sets and what they thought might work for that. Obviously, they knew that there would be more cards coming out in general, and that people would be able to check them out or not, especially when they're coming in for commander. Obviously, this was an oversight. We have way too many sets in standard right now. And a result of that is now we actually cannot choose what might not be for us or not, because there might be a card that you definitely need for your set, and so, or for your deck, that you could be using for, an RCQ, for whatever, for a brew. This is not commander anymore, so obviously you can't just tune out an entire set as you would be able to in commander, because there's 30,000 cards in commander. So in standard, have to pay attention, have to kind of be up on what's going on. So therefore I'm doing a set review because I'm a standard player. Yeah, I do compete pretty regularly. I will probably be posting some MTGO content soon, and yeah, more brews and whatnot coming later. Obviously on MTGA, on September 8th, they're dropping all of the arena only through the omenpaths cards. Already kind of voiced my thoughts on that in the podcast. You can check that out if you want. Awesome if you do. Be sure to leave a comment if you have any thoughts or anything like that. But yeah, let's get into the set review here. So we're starting with City Pigeon. All right, so this is a 1 mana 1/1 from white, and it's a common. So it has flying, and then whenever this creature leaves the battlefield, create a food token. So notably, it leaves the battlefield, so it can be exiled, it could die, it could be bounced back to your hand, and it will create a food token because it's carrying some kind of hot dog and it's dropping it. Oh, that was my lunch. Nice. I like this little pigeon with the little donut around his head. That's my friend right there. Yeah, obviously we're not eating pigeons, because if we were eating the pigeon, the pigeon would also be a food token. So this pigeon just happens to have some food on it, and it is carrying the food. Yeah, very baseline, common here. It's not really doing that much. There's not too much in the way of flickering in the set either, so Maybe this could see Fringe play in some kind of flicker deck in like a commander set, or a different format maybe, but as it is right now, it's just a random bird, which could be relevant, but overall, it doesn't have any keywords that really separate it from any other bird that would be willing to be played here, or like a bat or something like that, so kind of low tier. Anyways, moving on. Thwip. So this is a 1 mana instant. Target creature gets +2/+2 and gains flying on end of turn. If it's a spider, you gain 2 life. Don't know where the life gain comes through here if it's a spider. Maybe because he feels good about himself after he thwips. But yeah, so probably a decent combat trick in Limited if you have like a blocker you're not able to swing in with, and then some flying creature attacks, and then you can like ambush it. But essentially, yeah, it's just kind of an ambush. It's not really that great. Gaining 2 life could be relevant in Limited, so check out for that. Again, not constructed playable. Spectacular Tactics, 2 mana instant. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. It gains hexproof until end of turn, or destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. This is not actually a bad card. Destroy evil, you know, obviously it's pretty much what that power is here. Destroy target creature with power 4 or greater, not toughness. So it's not really destroy evil, but it could be a kind of a, you know, protection spell as well. Gains hexproof. Again, this is not super relevant because we have a lot of like board wipes and edict effects that could just kind of blow this out. Overall though, could see Fringe constructed play, say in like some kind of Voltron best of 1 deck. Overall, not the greatest card. I would rate it pretty low. Obviously uncommon, so none of these cards are really going to hit the mark here. Again, with the 100 card set, the initial way this entire set was built was to have no commons. So a lot of these commons here that are commons will seem very patched in and kind of phoned in. So not going to see too many crazy things from the common side, like mythic commons and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll see. Selfless Police Captain. So this creature enters with a 1/1 counter, so it's a 2 mana 2/2. When it leaves the battlefield, put its 1/1 counters onto target creature you control. So this could be a flicker target. Again, this is a leaves trigger, not a die trigger. When you exile it, when you return it to hand, all that stuff could move the counters around from this. Maybe can see Fringe play. It doesn't actually create counters itself. It doesn't have any keywords, so I wouldn't really see this land in a constructed deck at all. Maybe like a Pixie deck, you might want to try it, but it's a little below rate, so we're gonna move on from that. We got another Spiderman, who's actually a legendary common, so this is a popper card. So this could actually see a lot of play because it is a 1 mana 3/3. If you cast for its web slinging cost, obviously popper loves legendaries that are common, so this being a 1 mana 3/3 popper could really be effective because it could be like in a weenie deck, it could be in some kind of aggro deck like Boros aggro, or you know, anything you might want to try. So this card is actually pretty good, it being a common and also being able to be cast for its web slinging for 1. This is probably an impactful card, so if you're playing popper, this is definitely one you want to probably grab. All right, Wild Pack Squad. We got a 3 mana 2/3 at the beginning of combat on your turn. Up to 1 creature gains Vigilance first strike until end of turn. That's pretty good. It's a good keywords. There's no kind of like power boost, so definitely gonna want a creature that can actually swing in and can either not be traded with, pretty much giving it unblockable, and it becomes a blocker. So pretty good card. Web Up. More flavor. You know, card here. It's just a banishing light. When it enters, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls until its enchantment leaves the battlefield. Yeah, so this is all right. yeah, nothing too crazy here. We have Banishing Light in standard and a bunch of other things with like Ward and other things like that. So definitely not something I would be playing, other than this is just one of the very few removal spells in this color for limited. So we will evaluate cards for constructed and limited and maybe reference them for commander. So all right, daily bugle reports. This is reporters. 4 mana 2/3, so pretty low rate here. Puff piece, put a 1/1 counter on up to 2 target creatures. This is not what you control, so you could commit a crime with this, I guess. Return target creature card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand, so you have a raised dead effect, so you can, like, I guess the flavor there is bring up something that was hidden, investigative journalism. Yeah, not a super great card, but if you're playing like Selesnya counters, green-white in limited, this could be relevant. So maybe you might want to take this card here. Not too bad. All right, Starling, Aerial Ally. It's a 5 mana legendary common, so another kind of popper card. But when Starling enters, another target creature you control gains flying until end of turn. Really not that great. A 5 mana 3/4 that just kind of gives something flying once. Yeah, I don't know if we're really about that. They might have been able to make her a bird as well. I don't know how that would have made her more relevant. Obviously, she's a human, but she does have feathers, so maybe she's a bird. But yeah, human hero could be relevant in a human deck to like somehow get lethal or something like that. Yeah, okay, so now we have another legendary uncommon. So out of the popper cards, whenever another creature you control enters, you gain 1 life. If it's a spider, put a 1/1 counter on it. There might be a green-white kind of like counters deck with like a bunch of spiders in limited specifically, so this could be a really good card in that deck, especially if like she's a soul sister as well, which is kind of funny. On May is a soul sister, but yeah, you gain 1 life when any creature you control enters, not any creature in general. If it's a spider, put a 1/1 counter on it. Obviously, this is going to be like, if your deck is all spiders and it's like green and white, this is going to be like a card that you have to kill. Yeah. So we'll keep an eye out for this one for limited. Seems pretty good. Sudden Strike. This is one of the other removal spells for white, so we want to keep an eye out for this one as well. Destroy attacking creature or blocking creature. This is anything as well. You can destroy one of your creatures if you're feeling spicy. But yeah, so it doesn't need to be tapped, notably, so it can kill vigilance creatures. Yeah, and that's kind of it. So 2 mana instant, pretty good on rates for whites. We're gonna want to keep an eye on this one. Obviously, a lot of these cards are going to be, evaluated for limited, especially in the uncommon range, because there's not that many uncommons here that kind of reach the bar. So we'll be referencing a lot of cards for limited. Creep Cut Web Shooters. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, has reach, and whenever this attacks, tap target creature an opponent controls. So this is pretty good, just kind of on rate for what you might want for, light removal. It doesn't actually remove anything, but it does give it +1, and it does remove a blocker. So this is something that usually plays pretty well. 4 mana round trip to equip as well, so it's not super on rate, but you can play it early for something to do, and then eventually when you do play a creature and you want to get in, it becomes pretty good. So especially if that creature has vigilance, anything like that becomes a little bit more relevant. Definitely with the +1 here, if you're kind of light on power in your build, this can be really good. So yeah. All right, so uncommon, legendary human citizen, Flash Thompson, Spider fan. So bro showboating, he's definitely a fan of Spider-Man. You can see that right there, Flash Thompson. No one cares about your Spider-Man obsession, Flash. Liz Allen, I'm pretty sure that's her. Like, God, you're such a dork. All right, so he has Flash because he's Flash Thompson. Choose one or both. Tap target creature, heckle, hero worship, untap. It could be like a combat trick. It's not terrible. Also, combat trick to get in as well. You can tap a creature, untap a creature. Will create a blocker out of nowhere. So, pretty good for limited. Don't ever see this played in the White Weenie deck at all. A lot of the White Weenie stuff for Constructed right now is pretty high level, and this doesn't really do anything. So, decent limited card. Costume Closet. So this is not an equipment. This is an artifact. Enters with 2 1/1 counters. Move a 1/1 counter for free, by the way. From this artifact onto one target creature you control. Activate as a sorcery. Whenever a modified creature you control leaves the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on this artifact. So that's pretty cool. So that means that you can use an equipment to put 1/1 counters on Costume Closet, which would just give it, you know, kind of an infinite source of counters. Obviously, having the ability to tap for free doesn't come in tapped as well. This is just +1. Pretty good. Kind of like an Ozolith, but really bad if you compare it to that. But it having like some kind of modified creature ability here, which that's an ability from Kamigawa. That just means equipment, auras you control, and counters are modifications. So, yeah. So anything with the counter, so it's a good green-white card, could be a good blue-white card, could be a good Boros card. Anything with white. I don't know if Orzhov really cares about that, but it could. Orzhov might be kind of like the Blink-ish kind of thing, so we can see. Again, the limited set, very, very weird this time around because they really only made 5 archetypes where they make pretty much double that usually. So gonna have to get pretty creative with playing around that limitation. I definitely, my prediction for how limited is gonna be very soupy. You're gonna have to splash a lot. And it's gonna be a little weird. So we'll see how it goes. It's kind of the first time they've really designed a set like this, so. Well, and made it for limited, you know, because of the fact that the started as a commander set, turned into a constructed set, so. All right, Silver Sable, Mercenary Leader. Okay, so this card's all right. When Silver Sable enters, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. So that means it could put it on herself, so she could be a 3-mana 3/4, which makes her a little bit better on another target creature. So, sorry. Scratch that. But yeah, whenever Sable attacks, target modified creature you control gains lifelink until end of turn. This could be good, could be not good. Probably want to put the equipment on her in order to kind of let her get in here so that she doesn't die. But yeah, not a bad creature. Definitely, I think design-wise, it could have just set on a target creature. Because the 3-mana 3/4 for this, doing this ability is not really that great. Target modified creature you control means that she would be able to target herself. You could also, you know, have Costume Closet, put a counter on her, and so that could be pretty good. All right, this is UK Spider-Man. Web Slinging for 3 is a 4-mana 3/4. At the beginning of your end step, if 2 or more creatures enter the battlefield under your control this turn, you draw a card and gain 2 life. Obviously, for Constructed, this is a little bit below rate, but if you were playing a token deck, this could be okay. It's not literally the worst thing in the world I've ever seen, so I probably would never play it in Constructed. If you're trying to play like some kind of token go wide spider commander deck, this could be pretty good there. Not super sure like how many tokens we could make in limited. I don't think it's very much, so I would probably rate this pretty low. Possibly Bant or green white could do a little creature spamming with like web slinging and stuff, but overall I think it's pretty low tier. I probably wouldn't take this, but again, we don't know how the splashing is going to work in the format just yet. We have to kind of see it in action. So this could be a good card. Drawing a card, obviously very good. Gaining life, obviously very good. So, and then another cool note about this card is that it was kind of altered with AI, allegedly. And that's the case with a few cards in this set. So, not exactly the most awesome thing to see in Magic. Yeah, not sure how that one's going down, but the conspiracies are going around about this card in particular that there's a lot wrong with it. Perspective's all effed up here. In the background, you can see like this little street light's completely bent with no kind of accident bending it, so there's no reason that should look like that. But yeah, perspective's just really weird in general. Feels very warped. But anyways, so could be AI. Rent is due. So now we're into the gold cards here, to the rares. Obviously, there's not many cards in each color, so we're gonna kind of fly through this a bit. Rent is due. Enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, you may tap 2 untap creatures or treasures. So it has to be treasures. Can't just be artifacts. If you do, draw a card. Otherwise, sacrifice this enchantment. So you can't just play this on 1 and do anything with it, because it is at the beginning of your end steps, so you have to pay the rent for this card. But yeah, it could be a really, really good draw engine, and then at any point you can be like, you know what, I don't need this anymore, I got enough cards or whatever. This seems like a pretty solid commander card. I would rate this pretty high for commander just because you can play this later in the game. The card draw is like invaluable, especially in white based, like a Smothering Tide deck. You can just tap down a couple treasures there. Any token deck as well. Seems pretty good. So this card probably can slot into a lot of white decks in Commander. So for Constructed, can be really good in the survival based green-white deck. Or like a, probably not Kona, but yeah, there's a few places where this can actually go. You can try Boros with treasures. You can try blue-white with like tokens, something like that. Although blue-white can draw a lot of cards off like Caretaker's Talent, so we don't really care about that. But yeah, it looks pretty good for Commander. Not sure about it for Constructed, but could be really good. You know, like tapping a Wily Duke and like a Lana War to draw a card on top of the Wily Duke card seems pretty good. So you can draw a couple cards off of this pretty easily in Constructed. Obviously, you'd have to build around it. Other than that, could also be good in White Weenies as well in Constructed because they have problems drawing cards and stuff like so. This could be a good card. We'll jury's still on this one. Obviously, it's a rare for a reason, but for sure, Commander, possibly Constructed. And the Constructed decks that can use it remains to be seen how good they are in the meta in general. Possibly like a solid tier 2 deck, but yeah, we'll see. Spectacular Spiderman, pretty good card. So this is a little bit higher on the list here. Flash 3/2. Pay 1 here. It gains flying until end of turn. Pay 1 in sacrifice. It not being a free sack is kind of annoying. Because it does like create like a very telegraphed effect here. So obviously it's a little bit more balanced. Yeah, very good for Commander because creatures you control gain hexproof and indestructible end turn. So if you had 2 mana up, obviously sacrifice effects are at like split seconds, so you can't really stack this in any weird way. I believe the ability would go on the stack, so you know, I don't know. It's not super great. I would rather the sack effect be free, kind of like Selfless Savior. But it is all the creatures you have, so beggars can't be choosers. Selfless Savior was, I think, an uncommon. So this being rare, I kind of expect a little bit more from it. But it being a flash 2/2, pretty good. It could fly, so that's also pretty good. So this could see play in a lot of different decks. We'll try it out. Yeah, so a lot of cool styles for this card as well. It's kind of one of the more chase arts for the set as well. I think these arts are kind of like the traveling chocobo. There's a lot of different like styles. This one in particular, I think, is pretty expensive already from pre-order. So we'll see. This card can be really good. This one's, I like this card a lot. Origin of Spider-Man. It's a saga. Creates 1/1 green spider with reach. And it's token, obviously. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. It becomes a legendary spider hero in addition to its other types. So this now creates more spider synergy within your deck where there is none. And then target creature you control gains double strike. So very aggressive. You can create a 3/2 with it if you have nothing else going on, and then that 3/2 gains double strike. So possibly in a couple turns you can hit for 6. And then if you had something that was like a big spider or like a Abzan Craven or something like that, you could possibly, you know, hit in for a lot of damage with this card. You know, double strike and trample always works pretty well, so we want to make sure that, you know, you put this in a deck that can kind of utilize it. Otherwise, just by itself, it's a pretty good little small engine here. Creates a 3/2. But yeah, 2 mana 3/2 adds a modification to it. 2 modifications. I don't believe the Spider Hero is a counter, but giving the +1 counter is pretty good. So, all right, Arachne Psionic Weaver, web slinging for 1, so we like that, especially on a 3/3 body. As Arachne enters, look at an opponent's hand, then choose a card type other than creature. So this is more of a stacks piece where you can tax something, and you can look at their hand as well, so you can kind of get an idea of what you want to like tax. But this is really good. And I don't know if the wording's just a little bit weird on this, but obviously it should work as long as you control Arachne. Spells of the chosen type cost 1 more. It doesn't like directly say that. It just says as it enters, look at an opponent's hand. Obviously an opponent is not targeting, so that can kind of, I think, get around hexproof because you choose the opponent. Then choose a card type other than creature. This shouldn't be like an emblem, like an Arachne emblem. That would be weird. It is kind of worded a little bit weirdly though. One might be able to interpret that this just can be flickered, because it's not on cast either. It's as it enters, you get to choose. So yeah, weird card, pretty good. I would definitely choose like sorceries or instants and be like, you know, you can't cast that board wipe on 4 now or on 3 or whatever. So probably a decent either pixie card can be in balance. Like obviously web slinging is pretty much what Nurturing Pixie is, except you need to have it done to a tapped creature. So this is a good ability. I really like web sling, especially when it's for 1. Putting in a 3/3 for 1, it's pretty good. All right, so this is 4 mana enchantment aura, so it's all right. But when it enters, create 3 green and white human citizen tokens. That's pretty good. Enchanted land has tap for 1 and tap this land. Target creature gets +1 until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. It gets +1 until end of turn for each creature you control. That's all right. It's not terrible. You know, something that can be knocked off with like a demo field or something like that. Enchanting a land aura. They're not bad, but for 4, they're usually a little too expensive, especially when it's like asking you to tap for 2 the next turn and have like a board and stuff. This could be just like 4 mana, do nothing, especially when it's only activated as a sorcery. So I'm not really high on this card, other than the fact that it creates 3 1/1s, which is pretty good, because you can create 3 1/1s and then pump one of them for 3, because this is for each creature, including the one that you're pumping it. So you get essentially 6 power from this just on itself, so it's pretty good for that. I would evaluate more so for like the 4 mana create 3 tokens, a little more so than the pump ability here, but it could be relevant for both. It could be a really good like best of 1 like rabbit deck card, or possibly for a token deck. So we'll see. This card could be a little bit better than it reads, but yeah, it having its ability be a sorcery only makes it a little bit lower. So it's a rare, so we're able to get 3 bodies out of this, so that's pretty good. Alright, so we got another aura here, enchanted creature this time. With great power comes a giant Peter Parker. Enchanted creature gets +2 for each aura and equipment attached to it. All damage that would be dealt to you is dealt to enchanted creature instead. That's a little weird, but it's a cool redirect for like any like damage that's getting dealt to you. Say if you were dealing with like infect or something like that, kind of like redirect infect damage. It's almost like really expensive in comparison, like all the glitters, but all the glitters and other things like that usually account artifacts as well. This one just literally says auras and equipment, so could be a really good finisher for auras, or like a Voltron deck, but this seems very constructed, especially in limited. Like you probably won't have enough of this effect or auras or equipment to really give it that much value. Although if you had at least 2 equipments or 1 aura, 1 equipment, it's a +4 effect, so this could be good enough for limited. We'll see. Alright, now we have the Mythics. Peter Parker. This card's pretty good. We have a 0/1 that creates a 2/1, so 2 bodies, and then for 1 in a Bant, 4 mana, we can also, I believe, cast this for its transform as well, so you can like kind of make it modal. So we can cast this for both sides, and I believe that side is in the multicolored, so we'll have to get back to that. But yeah, this card's pretty cool. I believe it gives everything that you control web slinging for like Bant. But yeah, it's like a 4/4 on the other side. You can create a body, and then you can also cast it for as its other side as well for 1 in a Bant. So this is a pretty cool card. I wouldn't rate this super low. Obviously, it's a mythic, so it shouldn't be bad. But yeah, 2 mana for this for like a 2/1 and another body. Pretty good. So I'd rate this pretty well. All right, now we got Anti-Venom, probably the best card in whites. Obviously, you have to be like mono white in order to play it. 5 white pips, but you get a 5 mana 5/5. If he was cast, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So he's a reanimate. And if damage would be dealt to Anti-Venom, prevent that damage and put that many 1/1 counters on him. So it's kind of like a Phyrexian Obliterator, you know, Phyrexian Vindicator, I believe. So similar to a Phyrexian card, but Symbiote hero. So he's not a spider, but he is a hero because the Symbiote is the Anti-Venom. But yeah, so this is a pretty cool card. It's a reanimate on a stick. I always like that. So when he enters though, so it's not as you cast it, and you do have to cast it, so you can't just reanimate this and get another thing. So yeah, a little bit below other cards of this effect, but really good in limited, I think, especially if like, you know, you're trying to do something that's a little bit more mono focused. But in limited specifically, I would probably kind of push against playing this because you'd really be screwed by this mono white pipping here. So maybe in like, if you had some like Bant coloring, you would need to get a lot of duels for this. So yeah, maybe pack one, pick one, and then if you can get a bunch of dual lands, then yeah, you can play it. But this might be a pack one, pick one, and cut, which is a little bit awkward. So not sure. Unless you can actually force a mono white deck, this kind of hurts for limited. Constructed, obviously different story, can be the top end in any mono white deck. But yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good for that. Like if you were able to discard an Overlord the Mistmoors and then, you know, reanimate that with this, that is a ton of value, and it has this passive, so pretty good card. All right, so that's gonna do it for the white cards here. Overall, we had a couple bangers. We had like Peter Parker, and then Arachne and Origin of Spider-Man. Everything else is a little bit below value here, so this color in particular is really, I think, tied to green and blue, similar to like the way we see this Bant web slinging on Peter Parker. So if you're not really getting any good like counter synergies or bouncing synergies from these colors here, I feel like this color is a little bit of a miss for limited. But other than that, like there's a couple bangers in here you might want to check out for Constructed. Feels very light though, so we'll have to see how that affects everything. All right, so moving right along, let's start into the blue cards. All right, so Spider-Man No More. So this card is all right, decent. It's not a trick because there's no flash in it, but it's pretty much a blue removal spell. We have some effects already that are for one, so for Constructed, this has no value. I would not play it. It's a defender, so you can't swing with the thing that you remove, so might be fringe playable. But yeah, there's a ton more effects that are like way better than this, so I would just not even think about this card for Constructed. In limited, obviously not that many removal spells, so probably would need this. And yeah, so that's about it. Mysterio's Phantasm. All right, so we got a 2-mana 1/3 flyer, so that's already pretty good. Vigilance whenever this creature attacks, mill a card. Not sure how good the graveyard synergy is outside of like Grixis, like Mayhem, but Mayhem I believe needs to be discarded, so I don't know about this one. This card might be more of a liability than it is. Obviously milling is pretty good. When it's only one card, it can actively be pretty good to thin out your deck, get you closer to other cards that you need. Also, on the off chance that it mills a card that you actually need is your bomb, it can just be how you lost the game. So I don't know about this card other than, you know, if you're looking for a flyer, you have some kind of synergy with this, like villains or something like that. Yeah, I would rate this card pretty low. But a 1/3 flying vigilance for 2 is pretty good. So if you have villain synergy and you maybe have a little bit of graveyard stuff going on, maybe this is like the perfect card. So yeah, so it could be bomb uncommon or common here, but other than that, maybe Popper could use this for something. But yeah, it's all right. It's not a bad card. Whoosh, this is Into the Royal, like a reprint of Into the Royal. Literally has kicker. So now you can have Into the Royal and Whoosh in your deck. But yeah, if you kick it, which is +1 and a blue pip, so 4 mana total, return target non-land permanent, which is any non-land permanent. If the spell is kicked, draw a card. So pretty good spell, solid card. Definitely gonna want to take this in blue if you find yourself in blue. You're gonna need any bounce spell you can. And this also can bounce your own things back to hand, so it can be a protection spell as well. So definitely want to keep an eye on this one for limited, obviously. If in Commander you need more of this effect, you already have Into the Royal. You can now have 2, so that's cool. Unstable Experiment, I believe this is the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, yeah. So target player draws a card, then up to one target creature you control which connives. So you would draw 2 cards and then discard 1, and if it was a non-land, put a 1/1 counter on it. So connive is from New Capenna, and there's a bunch of connive cards in this set. It's kind of the synergy of like Dimir. I believe Dimir connives a bunch, so yeah, it's an okay card. You can draw 2 cards off for 2 and put something in your graveyard, so this can be hyper relevant. This might be a really good common, so I'll keep my eyes open for this one. Amazing Acrobatics. This is a counter spell, so for 3 mana it's a cancel counter target spell, or it can tap 1 or 2 creatures, which might be really good. It's kind of like an ice only for creatures, like fire and ice, you know. So you can tap 2 things, maybe like get in for lethal with it, or you can counter a big threat. Not sure if we want this for limited, but judging how bad all the removal is, I think counter spells kind of go up in value because of that. So yeah, look out for counters. It could be this. There's also another counter spell in the set that I think is a bomb. So yeah, we'll keep an eye out for this one. This one doesn't seem that terrible. For constructed, maybe like an Is It deck or something like that. This can be really good. Obviously, it's 3 mana, so that really puts it low on the list for possible constructed cards. But yeah, it's all right. It's not bad. Doc Ock's Henchman. So this has a flash on it. Flash 2/1. Whenever it attacks, it connives. So this is pretty good. I think this card is kind of a bomb common here. I would definitely take this and be like, yeah, this is a perfect like 3 mana card here. Doesn't start with that much power, so it can be easily removed by damage effects. But in terms of like what it does, drawing a card, filtering a card, looting, and then potentially getting like more powerful, it's not when it connects. So on attack, you can make this immediately a 3/2. Yeah, and so it has flash, so you can even hold up like a combat trick or something like that, or move stuff out of the way. So yeah, it's a really good card. I think this one, definitely if you have something else, like make sure this thing lives through a couple combats, definitely a problem to deal with. So Oscorp Research Team, this is a 4 mana 1/5, huge blocker, 7 mana activated ability, draw 2 cards. This could be really good, especially because it's not a wall, so you can even attack with it if you wanted to. But even just as a wall, in a big stalled out game, which I think limited is going to be a lot of that because there's so little removal, I think this card can definitely like be a grinder, because this, especially in battleship kind of formats, we've seen a bunch of those types of limited in the past where it's just like not enough efficient removal, and you end up just ending up with gigantic, like every single creature card in your deck on the field until someone decks. This would deck you, obviously, but if you were looking for a specific card, it can help you get there. So this might be like a take and cut. We'll see. Human Scientist, no villain synergy, but yeah, it's alright. It's not bad. So this is a legendary common here. 4 mana 3/3 with flying. Exile this card from your graveyard, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. It gains flying until end of turn, so that's not permanent flying. But it does give you 1 counter, so this is kind of a card for the Bant deck. But yeah, it's a decent 4 mana 3/2 flyer. I might take this, I might cut it, but overall I don't think it's terrible. Beetle. Human rogue villain. It's not a hero. Notably not a hero. So this is Doc Ock. Actual Doc Ock as a common. Human Scientist villain. As long as there are 8 more cards in your graveyard, Doc Ock has toughness 8/8. So it's like super threshold here. As long as you control another villain, Doc Ock has hexproof. So 5 mana 4/5, not a terrible right there, and then it can become a 5 mana 8/8. So I think this card is really good, especially if you have a full up graveyard, and that's where this other card over here becomes a little bit more relevant. The Serious Phantasm, and there's a lot of like villain synergy as well. So with Phantasm, Doc Ock becomes a little bit better because you can get to that threshold, and also gives it hexproof. So this is definitely one of the better commons here that I've seen just out of all the colors. Secret Identity. Alright, so Conceal. Until end of turn, target creature you control becomes a citizen with base power and toughness 1/1 and gains hexproof. Until end of turn, target creature you control becomes a hero with base power, toughness 3/4 and gains fighting vigilance. So obviously this is a combat trick. You can make something that you have a little bit bigger. Obviously if you're like swinging in with a 2/1 that you're conniving with, like this guy, you can buff him up to something a little bit bigger. Or you can help him get in, where he becomes a 3/4 with connive, flying, vigilance. So you want to do this pre-combat, obviously, to get the vigilance value there. But if you were, you know, trying to protect something as well, like both sides of this are unique control. So you can't actually shrink anything your opponent would have. But yeah, you can get hexproof and power toughness 1/1. Just that's the citizen flavor there. Just kind of make it look like you have no power. But yeah, decent card, cool little protection spell and buff spell. So yeah, decent, not bad. So it's Flying Octobot, another villain. Flying 1/1 for 2. Whenever a villain you control enters, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. Only once per turn. But you know, if you had a bunch of villains in your deck and you were just kind of playing villains every turn, this can become a huge problem. So that's why it's an uncommon. Pretty good keyword on it as well. Very killable, but can become very large. So have to deal with it eventually. And yeah, pretty good card. I like it. Alright, so this is a Spider Bite. Spider Avatar Hero. So when it enters, return up to 1 non-land permanent to its owner's hand. That's anything on the field. This is similar to Jill from Final Fantasy. Yeah, not a terrible card. It's a mana war as well. So it's a 2/2. It doesn't have flying, so not sure why it didn't get flying here, but I guess it's an uncommon, so it's a little bit too far above its rate. Looks like they really made these fair. Yeah, it bouncing any non-land permanent, very good. Didn't say target creature. And it also doesn't say that you control, so anything on the field that you own, it can bounce back so you can get another ETB. Yeah, pretty good target for like web slinging. Yeah, so I really like this card. Probably a good ban card. Chameleon, Master of Disguise. So he looks kind of like the Professor from X-Men. But yeah, he's just kind of weird. So 4 mana, legendary creature, human shapeshifter, villain. So he's a villain. You may have Chameleon enter as a copy of a creature you control, except his name as is Chameleon, Master of Disguise. And then Mayhem for 3. So that means you can discard and play it for 3. This is really good if you're using connive values. So Grixis is, I think, able to do a lot of the mayhem and like play connive creatures in limited. So Grixis probably where you want to put this in. Grixis for constructed, probably doing something a little bit different, but you never know. This could become super relevant. Like it can just be like really easy to do this. But yeah, so Mayhem, you may cast this card from your graveyard for 3, 2 and a blue. If you discarded it this turn, timing rules apply. So that keyword is not as good as Madness, but it is almost as good. All right, so yeah, that's Mayhem Chameleon, not bad. Robotics Mastery. This has flash and it's an aura. So it can be like blue-white auras with some of the other auras that you have. When this aura enters, create 2 1/1s, so that's pretty good. Or we also have another aura that makes 3 1/1s, so there's our token synergy. Enchanted creature gains +2/+2. Doesn't have any other keywords though, but you can attach it to something with flying and get a couple more flyers. But yeah, it's not bad. Getting 2 bodies with this and +2 power. This is 4 power for 5, and also has flash, so you can use it as a combat trick and maybe blow out the opponent. Maybe they're swinging in with a bunch of 1/1s and you trade twice and then you actually just kill something that's attacking and then maybe keep your creature, hopefully. Yeah, so it's not a bad card. Definitely a build around though. But you know, you can see this as a combat trick, but for 5 mana, you really have to be willing to play this. So I'm not sure if that's like a must-have. All right, so this card is kind of interesting. I was looking at this one. School Days. Do homework. Draw 3 cards. So for 5 mana at instant speed, drawing 3 cards is pretty good. And then fight crime, counter target spell, and draw a card. So this is pretty much like Cryptic Command, but also can be Lorien Revealed, which is a... well, obviously it's not Cryptic Command because it's not 4 mana, but... and it doesn't have the modes. But drawing a card and countering a target spell, pretty good. So for 5 mana, you could again stall out games, and then they finally find their bomb. You counter it, or say if you just need to get a couple cards off your top deck, drawing 3 cards at instant speed is crazy. So you know, 5 mana, 2 for 1, pretty good. It's not terrible. Definitely a I would pick and then maybe evaluate it. But yeah, just having it be like a draw 3 for 5 at instant speed, I think makes it more than playable in Limited. Constructed, I think this is way too expensive. But I don't know, you never know. It being a draw 3 for 5 and then possibly another counterspell could be okay, but I would hate to have this stuck in my hand for that long. Lorien Revealed obviously is really, really good because you can cycle it and get a island, which is any island. So, you know, that cycle ability makes it way better. And then it also makes the sorcery draw 3 cards like not even a downside. So the draw 3 in that sense is not as good, just because you can play it for 1 if you need to, and it fixes your mana. So School Days almost there, but definitely Limited, I would probably rate this pretty high. So I like this card. Again, removal bad in Limited, so stuff like this might become hyper relevant where you might want to counter something really, really big and then possibly draw 3 cards. So this card does a lot for Limited. I would rate it pretty high. Alright, so 6 mana 4/4 uncommon. Madame Web Clairvoyance. So see the future here. Top card at... you may look at the top card of your library at any time. That's not revealed. That's you looking at it. You may cast spider spells and non-creature spells from the top of your library. So that's pretty good. Whenever you attack in general, you may mill a card. So it's not when this attacks. It's when you attack. So you can play this on 6, and then you can attack. You can look at your top card. Do you want that? You can mill it. Yeah, it's not terrible. It's not a villain. It's not a hero. She's just an advisor. Not the worst card. Definitely for Limited, as your top end can kind of like... again, games are probably going to get really stalled out, so I would imagine that this can be kind of a grinder. Especially being able to play non-creature spells. Playing spider spells from the top of your deck makes this really good for Bant, again, or blue-white, or yeah, blue-green. You don't know. So I like it for Bant though. This card's a banger. So this is the rares now. So hide on the ceiling, X and a blue. So that means you can pay X and then exile X target artifacts and or creatures, which is a lot of stuff. Return the exiled cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So you could target anybody's stuff with this. So X target artifacts and or creatures without it saying token, right? That actually looks pretty good if, say, somebody's making a bunch of tokens. You can just kind of wipe their board with this. No? Like, is that not what it reads? So exile X target artifacts and or creatures. Return the exile cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So again, if you had stuff getting stolen, or you had, you know, stuff stolen from your top deck and then played, you can return to your battlefield. It's a Giga protection spell. It's a Giga flicker effect for, I think Bant probably would want this a little bit more than other combinations there because of white, and then I think green have a lot of ETBs. Blue does too, but probably not as much as you would want. So in general, this card is a banger. This is definitely going to be a must play in Constructed, Commander, Limited. This card is just all around super good. This is probably one of my higher rated cards for the set in terms of like, what is this, like the actual like main deck cards other than the lands, other than like the silly things to brew. This is just going to go in every deck that can play it. If you played Simulacrum Synthesizer, this can flicker every single artifact that you have and then trigger Synthesizer a bunch more times. So, and you can flicker the Synthesizer as well. Everything comes back, triggers it a bunch of times. Super good for that. And then also it says under their owner's control at the beginning of next end step. So you can flicker a bunch of creatures, put them out of the way of a board wipe. So it being 1 and X makes this extremely relevant. And again, if your opponent has a bunch of artifacts or creatures that are tokens and you want to get rid of that, you can actually do that. You can actually just kind of blast somebody's token board with this. Because it also says, you know, just X target artifacts or creatures, not that you control, and also not non-token. So, very good card. S+. So this is a 1 mana rare here. Lady Octopus Inspired Inventor. So this is a villain human scientist legendary creature. Whenever you draw your first or second card each turn, you may put an ingenuity counter on Lady Octopus. So we've seen ingenuity counters a couple times before. Never been super great, but her ability, so she's not a great blocker either. She just has no power. She's just kind of there learning, drinking her coffee, being a vibe. Or not being a vibe, she's a villain. She's evil. Unless you're a villain, in which case, that's a vibe. But if you're a hero, not a vibe. Alright, so you may cast an artifact spell from your hand with mana value less than or equal to the number of ingenuity counters on Lady Octopus without paying its mana cost. So, in Constructed, this could go into something like Simulacrum artifact deck, or in Commander, this can obviously go into a ton of different decks. So you do need to draw a couple cards, but it also says whenever you draw your first or second card each turn, put an ingenuity counter. So I believe that means 2 triggers for this. So every single turn, if you play on turn 1, you can play a 1 mana artifact from your hand for free. So she's just constantly kind of gaining ingenuity, and it's mana value less than or equal to. So you're not, it's not like Aether Vial where you have to like, you know, keep it at a certain value. So you want to like do this and that with it. So this is really interesting. Obviously it can be killed super easily, but could possibly be modern playable. I don't know. This card is really interesting. So it's very similar to Tamiyo. But of course Tamiyo is way better from MH3. 0/3, so it can actually block. When she swings, she creates a clue token, and then she could turn into a planeswalker. But it does synergize with Tamiyo. It could also be in like historic with historic artifacts. They're always drawing a few cards here and there. So yeah, just a really cool card. If it had haste on turn 1, you could even put 0 mana artifacts into play with it. Although you could just play those. If you had something limiting you from playing more than 1 spell per turn, it would be pretty good for that. But yeah, I think this card's great. Definitely reads better than most of the other cards. Just at first glance, we don't know if it's going to play better. It dies to a shock, so it's pretty killable. But if you don't kill it, it could sneak in a lot of stuff, and a lot of scary things could happen with this card. So, that means I think you can draw 2 cards in turn 2 and then have 3 ingenuity counters on it. Or, I'm sorry, 2 ingenuity counters on it, and then play a 2 mana like the Soul Stone or something like that. So, pretty good, pretty good. Hydro-Man, Fluid Felon. Alright, so it's a 2 mana double blue spell, similar to that anti-venom card. Whenever you cast a blue spell, if Hydro-Man is a creature, he gets +1 until end of turn. At the beginning of your end step, which is the end step that you play him in, it becomes a land and can tap for blue mana until the end, until your next turn. So not the end of your next turn. So at the beginning of your next turn, he would, I believe, change back, and it would be like an extra, like 2-layered trigger there. So at the beginning of your end step, untap Hydro-Man, so you can swing in with him, and then he becomes a land. So in mono blue tempo, which is kind of seeing a little bit more play in Constructed right now for standard, this can come down on turn 2, becomes a ramp spell as well, and then you can play Spectral Sailor or something like that, like a 1 mana flash spell on their turn, or like Hold Up Spell Pierce. This is not anything like that, but obviously he dies to demo field, so maybe it's bad, but he's pretty good. I like him. I think it's a great card, definitely worth playing. So again, he doesn't become a creature when you play a blue spell. Hydro-Man is a creature at the beginning of your turn. So it becomes a creature again, just at the beginning of your turn. At the beginning of your end step, he becomes a land, and you untap him. So, pretty good card. Definitely worth trying and checking out, especially for Constructed. For Commander, probably very decent as well, because he's a ramp spell, and Commander loves them rampins. So if you're playing something like Flash and Commander, it could be really good. Obviously, stuff needs to happen on your opponent's turn with this. You don't get the ramp on your turn. That is a really, really specific wording at right here until your next turn he becomes. So you're never going to get to use his mana as a way to ramp in your main phases. But as a Flash enabler, really, really good. So on turn 3, you could play a 4 mana spell on their turn. Yeah, so it's very interesting card. Alright, so Spider Sense. This is my other banger card that I've evaluated here. Obviously web slinging, so it's very good in Bant for limited. But for Constructed, this card possibly goes in every single deck that's playing blue. I definitely will play my Simic Ouroboros deck, Sultai Ouroboros, anything that has blue and Ouroboros, definitely going in there. So yeah, web slinging, that means, tap creature, you can turn it to its hand, the owner's hand, your hand. And play this for 1. So this is like Dispel or Miscast or something like that, like one of those kind of really bad common spells. But what you get to do is you get to put something back in your hand, counter target instant spell or sorcery spell, which is like a board wipe, board wipe, draw, whatever, it can do a lot. Anything that's going to mess up your tempo plan. So it's like a hyper tempo card. Spell Pierce obviously can counter like an Elspeth or something like that. or a caretaker's talent, or whatever you can think of. So it doesn't counter profs, doesn't counter Agatha's Soul Cauldron. But the last little line here, you can counter triggered abilities. So if you were playing against Soul Cauldron and you wanted to keep them from putting a counter on target creature, then you can counter that, because Agatha's Soul Cauldron is very specifically worded to exile a target creature or card from your graveyard. If it was a creature, when you do this and you have a creature, you can put on a counter onto target creature you control. So like, I believe it says like when or something like that. So when signifies a triggered ability, like enters the battlefield. When this enters the battlefield, that is a triggered ability. Whenever this thing, you know, whenever a villain enters, or whenever blah blah blah, that's also another triggered ability. So yeah, pretty cool card. Counters pretty much every board wipe. And then if you're thinking about like Star Cage from Edge of Eternity, also counters the exile effect from Star Cage, would counter Seam Rip, would counter Duskarow's Reliquary, would counter any type of enters the battlefield effects that might be not good for you. So yeah, it's a really good card. Very high in the totem pole here, so I would definitely grab this one as well for all your blue decks. And if I was playing Spell Pierce in those decks, I probably would play this over that. Best thing that I can see for this card, best deck, obviously all the Ouroboros blue decks, but Esper Pixie is not doing super well right now. So Esper Pixie, I would probably put this in, because A, you can return a card to your hand, so that's really good because you want to return a Pixie or a Kieran, whatever, when you're bounce creatures. And then you get to counter like a Fire Magic. And that's like, Fire Magic, in my opinion, is probably the worst card for Pixie, because pretty much everything's a 1/1, including like, you know, you want to rebuild your board with Zenith, and then you end up having everything wipes. Then you're just left with the Zenith, and you have to like chump with her or something. It becomes really, really bad. So Fire Magic can just blow out Zenith decks pretty instantly. And we're not even talking about 1/1s. If they kick it for, you know, 2 and hit you for a board wipe for 2, that also kills everything that Pixie has. So this is the counter for Fire Magic in Pixie. Obviously later game, because Pixie likes to go late game, Spell Pierce does not work anymore. This will counter that Spell Pierce. Or this will not counter the Spell Pierce, but be a better tech for that stuff over Spell Pierce, in my opinion. So yeah, I definitely like this card. Definitely grab it. Alright, so Mysterio. So I rated this card in my podcast as like a really kind of interesting card. And this is a human villain. When it enters, create 3/3 blue illusion villain creature token for each non-token villain you control. So that means if you go 1, 2, 3, you can create 12 mana worth of stats here. And then when Mysterio leaves, all those illusion tokens leave the battlefield as well. So this is a pretty cool effect. Obviously those exile. I think this card might be like a bomb for Limited, and could possibly see a little bit of constructed play if you're playing some kind of villain deck. But other than that, I think it also is pretty good for Commander too if you're building a villain deck. I don't know about as a Commander, but in like a Grixis villain deck for Commander, this could potentially be exponential, not just like 1, 2, 3 play Mysterio. This can be like on turn 6 or whatever. If you had any changelings, this would make 3/3s for your changelings. So this becomes pretty interesting. I think this card is actually really good. Clone Saga. This is another really interesting card. I think it's actually pretty good. Surveil 3, when you cast a creature next turn, copy it. So when you next cast a creature spell this turn, pretty weirdly worded there. copy it, except that copy isn't legendary. So if you're playing Jeskai Control, which has Shiko in it, on turn 5, you play this on turn 4, you can surveil some cards for Shiko to like play again, but this would give you 2 Shikos. If you're playing Grixis, you can make 2 Kefkas. So this is a really, really cool card. I think this card is really awesome. I think that this card, I don't know if it's going to be like super expensive, but I definitely want to play it. I think it's more than playable, especially because it surveils 3 on entry on 4. Surveilling is way more important in Constructed than it is in Limited, obviously. But this being like 4 mana surveil 3, that's already pretty good amount of value for that. And then the next turn, just copying any creature spell, that is legendary too. So it can copy spiders in your Bant deck as well. This just does a ton of stuff. So, and then choose a card name whenever the creature with the chosen name deals combat damage, draw a card. So you can make 2 Shikos, name Shiko, draw 2 the next turn. I think this just ends the game in that situation. Obviously a lot of things can go white and Shiko needs to live, but overall this card is really cool. I think it's a really, really good addition to any blue deck that is kind of more mid-range. Bant can be more mid-range, and so can other decks. So definitely high on the value scale there. I don't think it's like a bomb like Hide on the Ceiling or the other counterspell is, but this definitely is really cool for like a build around. Alright, so Norman Osborn. This is another flip card, so we'll see this in a bit with the multicolor cards. But yeah, Norman Osborn is a villain, human scientist, cannot be blocked, so whenever it deals combat damage to a player, he connives, so he can get a bunch of counters. And then also draw a card, discard a card, so he can trigger Mayhem as well. This card's sick. I think it's like a super, super good 2-drop. Obviously dies to a lot of things, but can't be blocked, so if he ends up getting pretty big, you're just never gonna be able to deal with this guy. So you're gonna have to kill him on sight pretty much. Don't even want to let him get in once. If like turn 3 you connive and then play like Carnage into like another thing, yeah, that's pretty gnarly. So Carnage, obviously, like if you had something that you reanimated with it, it'll like sacrifice at the end of the next step, and we'll see that card in a bit. But yeah, this is a really good card, good Mayhem enabler. Definitely if there's a Mayhem deck Constructed, this guy is a 4F. So also the Green Goblin part, very, very good as well. I believe it gives everything in your graveyard Mayhem, so that means if you discard anything, it will just have Mayhem. And I think it's just for Grixis, similar to the way Spiderman is, where Spiderman's flip is and I believe these are modal double face as well, so you can just cast it as the Green Goblin or cast it as Norman Osborn, just in case you had 2 in your hand and you want to, like, on turn 4 play the Goblin and keep Norman Osborn. So this card is really good, definitely worthy of a mythic, and I'm definitely going to be buying this. Imposter Syndrome. So this card's one of the bigger jank cards from the set. Obviously you can copy as many planeswalkers as you can if they become creatures. So copy Gideons, you can go and play Sarkhan and turn all your planeswalkers into creatures and copy all those. That is for a commander. That is a commander thing. If you want to go and do some memes in Commander, great for that. In Constructed, you can probably make a bunch of Kaido tokens, because that is the way to do that in Constructed. Again, with Shiko, you can make a bunch of Shiko tokens, and that's pretty good. For 6 mana though, this might just be a commander card. I think this is way too expensive for what it does. If you were to be playing Ouroboros and had 6 mana to do this, you're probably winning the game already. So this card for Constructed, I would definitely rate this as a win more card for sure. For commander, anything 6 mana, 7 mana, like who knows what's going on the board. I'm still playing CDH, like this is not win more, this is like what your deck is trying to do. So I would imagine that this card's pretty important for commander jank, but in constructed, way more expensive than what you want for this effect. It's definitely not on rate like the 4-mana enchantment where it's creating a copy, because you can play on turn 4, play a 5-drop, and then get that value. This is beyond that. 6 mana for something like that, you're definitely like already in the territory of you should be winning by now. So if this is how your deck is built and you want to get to like turn 6, 7, 8, then I don't know. This card probably would be a control card, control mid-range, and doing something stupid like this. But yeah, I think it's a fun card. Definitely not gonna knock it for being anything but fun. But yeah, definitely in constructed for fun. In limited, probably a game ender as well, because again, non-token creature, make a bunch of copies, and yeah. So like in limited and commander, this is probably the win con of your deck. So I'd rate it highly for that. In constructed, probably don't need it. So yeah, not sure how it's gonna be other than that. But for commander, it might just be really expensive just because of that, because it's just a hilarious card. And also, hee hee hoo hoo, great meme, guys. We love the Spiderman point meme. All right. Time for a little break. I'll be back. All right. Moving on to the black cards. All right, so starting with the commons again. Common Crook. When this creature dies, create a treasure token. Yeah, I mean, decent little sacrifice effect. Also, when you trade, it ramps or chump. Overall, this might stop some attacks in limited. Other than that, probably not playable anywhere else. For 1 mana, we have a creature that was kind of creating a treasure and scrying, I'm not sure. So, not really sure if this is playable there, but yeah, decent keywords or typing here, so human, rogue, and villain. So goes in the villain deck. Also ramps, hyper relevant there in limited. Other than that, probably not. Scorpion Sting. This is one of the few removal spells in the set here again. So if you're splashing black, you're gonna want this one. On top of whatever the color your splashing removal is. You're going to need all the removal you can because there's so few removal spells. And I'd also venture to guess that there is literally no relevant removal from this set for constructed. So don't even like try to think about it. Yeah, which is a problem. This is one of the biggest problems with this set's design, is that it is so patched together like this. Everything else is for this set though is really well thought out. Other than that though, for constructed, it feels very patched together. Like, yeah, I guess these cards will work kind of vibe. Maybe some things were recosted because they were like all commander level, like power levels. But for the most part, yeah, we'll get things like this. Target creature gets -3/-3. Obviously pretty good, but nowhere as good as like Nowhere Run. So I would never play this card in constructed because Nowhere Run exists, and so I'd just never play this. Also, Caustic Exile also exists, which can be played for 1 mana. So this is just a bad card, but for limited, great. All right, 2 mana, 2/1 with lifelink, and then for 4 mana, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. So it's commander relevant. So you can gain 3 life and then deal 3 to the table, or deal 1 to the table. But yeah, so this card might be okay for limited. Can ping people out, gain life. But yeah, so I wish it was like 5 mana trigger and then deal damage equal to its power. Unfortunately, we didn't get that. We have this, so it's alright. Just a 2/1. The best art of the set right here. Venomized Cat. 3 mana 2/3 with Death Touch, so probably pretty good. When this creature enters, mill 2 cards. It's a cat villain, so you can put this in a Dr. Octopus deck and then, you know, fill out Threshold for it, and then also have a villain for it. So this might be pretty good. Also trades with everything, so not too many Death Touch creatures in this set, so I think this is actually pretty good. Definitely not for constructed, but you know, it's no Mire Triton, you know, but it's really good. Swarm of Bees. Being a Bees. Flash 2/2, Mayhem for 1. So this might be okay in the Mayhem deck. 1 mana 2/2 flyer. Pretty good. Also, you can discard at instant speed and play this because it has flash. So make sure you understand how the Mayhem rules work. You may cast this card from a graveyard for 1 if it was discarded this turn, and then timing rules still apply. So that means you can connive, and at the end of your turn on your end step, you can play Swarm of Beans. Or you can draw a discard or something on an opponent's turn, play this for 1 because flash. Not great. Not much else to say. It's like, you know, there's a couple other Madness cards that pretty much do this. So I would put it, you know, pretty highly on that scale just because it has flash. You know, one mana 2/2 flyer is nothing to be scoffed at. That can definitely kill you. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out for this card. It might be constructed playable, but I don't think so. Alright, Surveil 2 for risky research. Surveil 2, then draw 2 cards, you lose 2 life. So it's kind of like Read the Bones. But yeah, I mean, Read the Bones type effects, drawing 2 at sorcery speed. Not really super into it. But at least it is a way to look at your deck. Also can fill up your graveyard. Also Surveil. I like Surveil over Scribe most of the time. So yeah, it's a pretty good card for that. Inner Demon Gangsters. Inner Demons Gangsters. I would imagine Inner Demons is the name of the group that I guess Mr. Negative has at his ready. But yeah, this is a discard a card. This creature gains menace. Pretty much whenever Madness is in a set, there's always some kind of card that is like discard for free. This would be that. So 4 mana 3/4 can discard a card, only a sorcery, which doesn't allow Swarm of Bees to be played with it. So I mean, it does, but it's not playing at its full value, which is flash speed. So I'm not super big on this card, but in terms of like enabling other Madness cards, I'm sorry, not Madness, Mayhem, this is really good for that. So alright, so 5 mana Venom here, 5 mana 4/5, Death Touch, and then exile this card from your graveyard, put 2 1/1 counters on target creature, it gains Death Touch until end of turn. This could be like a Judd card in the set, but overall it is just a 5 mana legendary creature with the 4/5 text on it. Overall it's pretty garbage. But yeah, it's a decent curve topper because you can also like use its renew effect. It's not as good as renew though because it only gains Death Touch until end of turn, and you can only use the sorcery speed. So yeah, it's pretty low in scale. But yeah, again, commons, so we don't expect that much from it. All right, now Venom's Hunger, the other removal spell here. So pretty much every color either has like a couple combat tricks or like at least 3 removal spells or something like that, like a fight effect or some kind of like parry effects or something. But yeah, Venom's Hunger here. If you control a villain, it's a murder and you gain 2 life. So it's a little bit better than murder, but it's sorcery speed, so it's actually worse. I would rate this worse than murder for being sorcery speed. yeah, pretty much everything from Bloomburrow as well was better than this. So yeah, it's just really bad. This is just like limited filler for your curve, 5 mana removal if you have no villains, but I'm guessing you probably would have some villains. Gain 2 life is pretty good, but yeah, overall this card's terrible. Enchanted Alien Symbiosis, enchanted creature, gets +1/+1, has menace, and is a symbiote. You may cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a card in addition to paying other costs. So this is similar to like, what was that? Like, it's like a Demon Aura thing where you can like discard a card and then play from your graveyard. Or like, I think lose life as well. But yeah, pretty cool. This card's actually not bad because you can like give it something menace, and then if that thing dies, you can like trigger Mayhem and then attach it to something. So I think this card's actually pretty good. So yeah, we're gonna keep an eye on this one. This could see Fringe Constructed play, but in general and limited, this will be a good Mayhem enabler. The spot's Portal. So the spot is a Orzhov card, but here's an instant card that is kind of like removal. But yeah, so it's black, and you put target creature on bottom of its owner's library. You lose 2 life unless you control a villain. This is pretty much like a black, like bounce spell, but you know, we've seen this effect a lot for 4 mana and blue for limited. So this being 3 mana also doesn't give you a choice. So the 4 mana kind of spells like this allow you to put on top or bottom. This is only on bottom, so yeah, I don't know. This card can actually be pretty good. You know, again, 3 mana for an instant spell like this is not constructed playable, but it is similar to like an exile spell, so it kills things that aren't killable. Yeah, I don't know. This is not really exactly what I'm looking for this effect, but yeah, it's pretty good. It's not bad. All right, Salmon's Quick Spend. It's Mayhem for 4. So it gets more expensive for Mayhem because it has an extra effect here. It's kind of like a Golgari card, especially if you're going to play Sandman. But all creatures get +2 till end of turn if the spell's Mayhem cost, or if the spell's Mayhem cost was paid. Creatures you control, your opponent's control, get -2. So this is not terrible, but -2 is not enough. Also, it doesn't exile, so I think it's pretty bad. And limited, it's one of the few board wipes, so I think there might be only 2, and I think they're both in black. So this is like really, really bad. Tombstone, Career Criminal. When Tombstone enters, return target villain card from your graveyard to your hand. Villain spells you cast cost 1 less. So 3 mana 2/2. You get a raise dead effect, and then you get to reduce villains from your hand, you know. So this is actually pretty good. I don't know if this reduces Mayhem costs, but for the most part, this is you know, if you're playing a villain deck on like Grixis, Rakdos, Dimir, anything like that, this is definitely a must grab. Just having a raise dead on a 2/2 body is good enough, so reducing costs is also pretty good. Oh, we got another villain here. Scorpion Seething Striker. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, target creature you control connives. So this is similar to like a void trigger, but yeah, a creature has to die this turn, and then you can connive at the end of your turn. So doesn't give you any power for actual combat. It's also a 4 mana 3/3 with Death Touch. So it's really decent for things that are like going to maybe like trade up with this, whatever. But yeah, you can give some power to your board. I think it's probably like the mirror card as well. But yeah, it's alright. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. Prison Break. So 5 mana to return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter. Then you can also cast this with Mayhem. So yeah, 4 mana Reanimate if you discard it this turn. It's okay. You do need some kind of like ability to discard. So if you're using like the Inner Demons card, discard this and then reanimate something else, this could be really good. I don't know if you would really call this a prison break because they're only breaking out one person, but it is a decent card, gives you a +1 counter. Possibly a limited, take, but it's, again, you need a discard outlet, otherwise it's 5 mana, and it's not instant speed at all, so not the greatest. But yeah, Mayhem costing it is cool, gives you a little bit more variance on this card, so it's kind of interesting. Alright, Noir Spiderman, one of the few heroes in black. Menace, whenever a creature you control attacks alone, put a 1/1 counter on it, then Surveil X, where X is the number of counters on it. So, this is a 5 mana 4/4 for this effect. This is actually pretty good. I would definitely take this in limited. Definitely like a kill on sight because you could buff up a bunch of things prior to this coming in, and then you get to Surveil X, which could be like 2 or 3, and if it's like 2 or 3, then it's more than enough. But this also can put counters on itself as well. So it has Menace, it's a 4/4. It's not like it's a 5 mana 2/3 or something like that. Yeah, this is definitely like, I'm taking this card when I see it. It's an uncommon card, so definitely a cool one. This card's really interesting, and this is the start of our rares here. Moreland, Devourer of Spiders. So it's a 2 black and X lifelink. Moreland enters with X 1/1 counters on it, so you can pump him. When Moreland enters, he deals X damage to target opponent. So it's kind of like a drain effect, like drain life effect, because he has lifelink and then he deals X damage. So in Constructed, I've been kind of evaluating this card and could possibly be very good in mono black, especially if you're casting this kind of early for like 2 or something and becomes like a 4 mana 4/3, gain 4 life and deal 4 to target opponent, and then you can just like exponentially, not exponentially, but just incrementally pump him up, and then well, yeah, I actually said that wrong. So he deals X damage, so if you put 2 counters on him, he become like a 4/3 and then deal 2. So yeah, even then it's okay because you're at least gaining some life, get a 4/3 with lifelink. But yeah, Vampire Villain, not the craziest card I've ever seen, but definitely can do some interesting stuff. I personally would have liked this to be a 1 black creature. But yeah, I guess they had to like pull him back just a little bit. Probably snowball a little bit too hard. But yeah, he could have just been a 1 mana 2/1 with lifelink, and then you scale him up from there. 2 mana 3/2 with lifelink, deal 1, gain 1. That doesn't sound too crazy. So yeah, I feel like he got a little bit nerfed here, but decent card nonetheless. Alright, Death of Gwen Stacy. So this card is a murder. Enchantment Saga, so you can't like counter it with like anything other than like negate, other things like that. But they are triggered abilities, so you can counter like some of it. Yeah, destroy target creature. It's alright. Again, it's an Enchantment Saga, so it's sorcery speed. For that, I'd rate it pretty low. Then each player may discard a card. Each player who doesn't loses 3 life. So that means you have to discard a card too. And then if you don't, then you lose 3 life too. And then exile any number of target players' graveyards. So like overall, this reads like a commander card. I do not have it high on any scale whatsoever. It could be good in a Mayhem deck, destroying a target creature, making them discard a card. But yeah, if like you're playing against like VV Cauldron, Chapter 2 just lets them like put a VV into the graveyard and then like go off next turn. So I don't like it. And this is one of the reasons why discard decks are not very good right now. But yeah, if you were to be playing in Mayhem, it enables Mayhem for free on turn 4. And that could be good enough. But yeah, chapter 1, destroying a target creature. It's just like, it's too medium and it's a little too fair for me. So I don't know if I'd waste a rare on Arena for this. In Limited, yeah, sure. I'm taking this card every time because it's one of the actual few removal spells that's like mildly on rate, so we're taking it. But yeah, this card is pretty low on the value scale here. I'm not a fan of this at all for multiple reasons. Especially this chapter 3 here. It's like chapter 1 and 2 are relevant for Limited, but then chapter 3 might be hyper irrelevant unless you're like facing something with threshold like Doc Ock or something. This just doesn't do anything. But yeah, in Commander, this seems pretty relevant because you can destroy a creature. A lot of Commander players are just like, don't want to run removal for whatever hipster reason. And then, yeah, removes their graveyards as well, which could be super relevant. They can discard a card. They could have no way of doing anything with that. 3 life is decent amount of life loss. So I see this as a commander card. Even then, it's pretty low. Yeah, constructed, I think it might just be stone unplayable. Yeah, anyways. So Parker Luck here. This one's pretty interesting. At the beginning of each end step, 2 target players each reveal top card of their library. They each lose life equal to the mana value of the card revealed by the other player. So this allows you to make somebody else look at the top card of their library, and then you guys both put that card into their hand. So you're not drawing cards here, but it's kind of like, I don't know, it's similar to like Phyrexian Arena, kind of like that, except it's like a group hug almost. But you can also like smack each other in the face. So this card might see fringe play. It's very, very janky. Even when you have like a bunch of expensive stuff in your deck, so you're just like, all right, reveal Unholy Annex, right? Like if you reveal Unholy Annex with this in mono black, then you hit them for 8. And then you also let the opponent draw a card, and they hit you with something. What if they reveal some gigantic reanimation haymaker like Velgavoth or something? Then you get smacked for 9, right? Like that's not super great. So like you can high roll with this, but your opponent can also high roll. So I don't know. This card could be fun, could be good, but more than likely it's probably too much risk. In general. In Commander, it can be really funny because you choose 2 people and have them like draw a card. So it's kind of like a group slug effect. But yeah, so it's alright. It's not like my first pick at all. In Limited, I probably wouldn't pick this card. I don't want my opponent to draw cards in Limited. Specifically in Constructed, you would definitely be building your deck to like hit them in the face with a bunch of stuff. So obviously it's not going in any black deck, but in a deck that kind of has a bunch of overcosted stuff like Reanimator, mono black with Annex, things like that. I kind of still would rather play Annex on turn 3 because I could go turn 2 Demon and then turn 3 Annex. I for sure drain them, so it's not something I'm super high on. This card's an actual banger in black. So we got Agent Venom, Flash Menace. Whenever you another non-token creature you control dies, you draw a card and lose 1 life. So in sack decks, this can not only ambush people, but you can draw your card. And we also have Umbral Caller Zealot from Edge of Eternity. So now we have free sacrifice outlets. So you can flash this in on the end of somebody's turn, surveil, and start drawing cards. This is not once per turn either, so we can draw a bunch of cards off of this and lose like a few life. Like if I was to lose 3 life and draw 3 cards and surveil 3, I'm super happy. So, you know, this card's awesome. It being flash speed, Midnight Reaper effects, also having Menace, like this card's sick. This is a really, really good card. banger in Commander, banger in Constructed, also banger in Limited as well, because it having flash speed, you know, means you can play it at the end step of your opponent's turn, yes. But you can also play it mid-combat, so if somebody's like trading with a bunch of your creatures, you can draw a bunch of cards off that. So I think this card's really good. Yeah, it kind of looks like Spider-Man if he was the Punisher. But yeah, Agent Venom. So Symbiote, Soldier Hero. Weird typing there, but it is good. Alright, Villainous Wrath is the Wrath of the set. And yeah, I don't know if I really like this. It's probably good in Limited because you can have your opponent lose a bunch of life. If they're playing a bunch of tokens or going wide in any way, this becomes a really good way to like smack them in the face for 9, 5, 3. Like if I'm doing anything less than 5, like I think I'm pretty bummed. Because I'm also wiping my board, so if I'm resetting somebody's board, hopefully I'm hitting them in the face for a lot. Obviously this Limited is going to be really gummed up Battleship style Limited because the removal's so bad. And the tempo is not really super high. So I don't think there is an aggro deck. We'll take a look at the red and maybe see if we can make Ghoul aggro or something in a minute. But yeah, so this card's okay. Constructed, I still am playing Deadly Cover Up over this because I'd rather remove a card than wipe my own board and then make them lose life. Like, I'm probably winning the game other ways, so I don't need the extra damage. And again, I'd rather exile something with Deadly Cover Up. So this is way below all the rats that are currently legal in Standard, so I don't rate this highly at all. Again, so if you have Bloodletter of Akhlazats and they had like 5 creatures, you make them lose 10, and then you wipe your board, so you lose your Akhlazats. But this loss of life is before everything dies, so that is something that might be relevant there. That is the only time I could see using this card, but you still lose your Bloodletter, so I don't like it still. Even then. This card's pretty cool. Black Cat, Cunning Thief. Might be the best black rare here, even though it's a 5 mana 2/3, which is pretty bad. When Black Cat enters, look at the top 9 cards of a target opponent's library, then exile 2 of them face down, then put the rest on the bottom of their library in a random order. You may play the exiled cards for as long as they remain exiled, and of any type can be spent to cast them this way. So yeah, really good in the Flicker deck. Obviously, you're never getting in with her because she's a 2/3. But yeah, you can play this, Flicker it, in Commander, and do a lot of silly shit with that. Obviously, in Constructed, this is terrible because it's 5 mana, it's a 2/3. So if you're on turn 5 stealing 2 cards, I'm sorry, you're not playing the right format. So definitely Commander card, not even a debate there. Limited can be okay because you're hopefully still in a couple haymakers and then you're able to play them. But yeah, 5 mana for this effect. Like we've had cards that have come down much earlier and have costed much less, and like Dimir and stuff, and do way more. Yeah, so this is just way below rate. I'm not playing this card in Constructed at all. But again, Orzhov Flicker, Esper Flicker, this is probably pretty good. I like with like a Gonti style steal effect. Yeah, it's all right for that. In Commander, I would say this is right on value for what you're trying to do. All right, now we have the best card in black right here, the Soulstone. Indestructible, mana rock, taps for black. Harness Infinity here, harness the Soulstone. Exile target creature you control, so it's the exile effect. And then it's 7 mana, exile this. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Obviously, anything in black wants this mana rock. This is just an extra thing that would be fun, but it doesn't return it from your opponent's graveyard. So definitely need stuff in your graveyard to like harness the Soulstone. But other than that, this card is awesome. I'm definitely going to need at least 2 in paper. I'm definitely going to be playing them all my Grixis decks because this card is just ramping me where like a lot of the Grixis cards that are like the big haymakers and win cons usually start at 4 to 5 mana. So starting on 3 and turn 4 with those, yeah, I want that. Best card in black, possibly even the set. Who knows? Yeah, and Commander is going to definitely want this. It's an indestructible mana rock. People don't usually blow up all the mana rocks, but you know, it doesn't play around farewell. But definitely good to get your engine started. Obviously, if somebody has an exile target artifact, they might use it on this. We have Suplex in Standard right now, so if this card was hyper relevant in Standard, Suplex would probably see more play than a Braid. But this is a really great card. Definitely want it. Definitely need it. So this is probably the big banger of black. All right, Eddie Brock, 3 mana, 3/3. When it enters, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with mana value 1 or less. You can return a 0 cost. But yeah, it's also a flip card for Jund. And remember, the flip cards in this set are modal double face, so you can cast it as Jund as well. Yeah, it's an alright card. It having like a reanimate 1 mana creature is pretty good. Also having a 3/3 body. A lot of things you can reanimate with this, like a Pixie or anything of that effect that has like an ETB. So yeah, this card might be really good. Reanimating Tiny Bones. You know, if you're in Jund, you can reanimate a bunch of like one mana like green creatures like Llanowar or something. Because Llanowar is usually dying. So this could be a really good card. This card is really, really, really good. So it's not like on the level of like what Soulstone's doing, but you would want to play Soulstone with this card. So this is Gwenem. Death Touch Lifelink. So 5 mana 4/4 with Death Touch Lifelink. Definitely want this in Limited. Definitely want it Constructed. Definitely want it in Commander. So I'm definitely gonna try this out in Constructed. But yeah, essentially, whenever she attacks, until the end of turn, you may look at top card of your library anytime, and you may play cards from the top of your library. If you cast the spell this way, pay life equal to its mana cost rather than pay its mana cost. So it is a Bolas' Citadel for 5 that only becomes Bolas' Citadel after you attack with this. So you need haste in order to like just get Bolas' Citadel. But this card is gasoline. I need this card in my Grixis Haste deck, and I also need this card just in general because it's so good. I love Bolas' Citadel, so I'm super high on this card. I think this is like the other like huge banger from black. Like Soulstone's really great. Eddie Brock is okay. Black Cat's okay. But Gwenem, this is going to be an expensive card. So I might want 4 of these. I might want 3. Either way, it's going in my Grixis decks because I want to be able to like snowball. And this card just says if you untap with her, snowball. If you have haste, snowball. Alright, so we have a Mythic Reanimate spell. Behold the Sinister 6. Return up to 6 target creature cards with different names from your graveyard to battlefield. For 7 mana, this is barely reaches the threshold of constructed play. But returning 6 creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield is pretty great. Although they need to have different names, so you can't just like spam a bunch of overlords onto the battlefield. You would need a bunch of different creatures for this. So definitely reads like a commander card. Definitely really, really good flavor. But this card can be really, really impactful and constructed too. So there might be some jank here. Definitely worth checking out. We're trying. It is a mythic. So on Arena, I probably won't be crafting this on purpose. Hopefully. And yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff to try out here. Probably a Jund card, possibly Soul Tie. So Soul Tie or Jund probably can do something with this in Constructed and Commander. That's where I'm kind of reading this card. Mardu can also do some stuff with it. Yeah, so it's an alright card. It's not terrible. Alright, so now into the red cards. So red is all about like mayhem and, you know, kind of more aggro stuff. Yeah, so let's get into it. Let's jump into it. So we have Masked Meower. So this is a new Vampire Neonate if you've seen that card. But yeah, Neonate was pretty much for like used in Dredge, used in Madness. And what it said was discard a card and sacrifice this creature, and then draw a card. So obviously discard Dredge target, draw a card, then Dredge instead of draw. But yeah, it also has haste, so you can get in for one and then do the thing after. But yeah, this is a really cool card. Enables Mayhem, you can reanimate it, enable Mayhem again. Yeah, just a really cool card. I think it's a great one drop, great common. One of the few like really good commons that are just like on rate, does like 3 things that are hyper relevant to what it's trying to do. Also has haste. We have a Shock reprint. Nothing really to say here. Has the lightning guy. And Shock deal 2 damage to any target. Alright, cool. If you're going to have a gimmick, embrace it, said Watsy. Angry Rabble. This is chat. This is everybody yelling at Watsy about Spider-Man. This is all the Universes Beyond haters. But yeah, so 2 mana, 2/2 with trample. Whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. And then for 6 mana, put 2 1/1 counters on this creature, and you can trigger that as many times as you want. Activate only as sorcery. Yeah, so it's an 8 mana 4/4 with trample. This might be a card that you're willing to take in, you know, like Naya or Gruul or something like that. It has trample, so pretty relevant keywords here. On the mana value 4 or greater can also be relevant. Pinging people in Limited is pretty relevant. Pinging each player, you know, or each opponent in Commander can also be pretty good. But yeah, not really constructed card. Would never touch it for that. Taxi Driver. Alright, so 2 mana, 3/1, pay 1 and tap. Target creature gains haste until end turn. It's an alright card. You know, give your Gwenom haste for 6 mana in Limited, I guess. But yeah, other than that, not really what I'm looking for in a card. It's a 3/1. It can give some haste, but a lot of the cards that have been 2 mana have given haste for free. I would much rather this be a 1/2 or 2/1 or 2/2 and not a 3/1, so I could just tap this for free. Yeah, so I think this card's bad. I think it's bad design. And it's really tacky. So it's just like, I don't like this card. Yeah, it's very tacky. Romantic Rendezvous. Discard a card, then draw 2 cards. It's like Tormenting Voice, but worse. It's not instant speed for this. Draw 2 cards is cool. Can enable Mayhem. But yeah, it's not terrible. It's definitely a good Limited fodder. But yeah, not being instant speed is just like kind of a bummer. Now we have Spider-Gwen, common 2/3. So whenever Spider-Gwen becomes tapped, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. So really cool card. Definitely, like, if you have a way to tap things, you can just loot all game. I think this card might even be like super relevant in Pauper. So this card might be really cool. Like if you have like Springsteel Drummer, Springleaf Drum, something like that. You can like make a mana, draw a card, discard a card. So this card might even be constructed playable in Standard. Who knows? I don't think her stats really mean anything, but having reach is cool. And look, she's the background here, so it's really cool art, really good art. Electro's Bolts. So 3 mana, deal 4, Mayhem for 2. Yeah, not a great card, but it is removal in red, and again, set light on removal. So we can Mayhem this for 2, which puts it a little bit more on rate. I would have preferred this to be Mayhem for 1. Maybe that was too strong. But yeah, overall it's pretty bad. But yeah, dealing 4 damage, it's pretty much all you can expect here. Like Edge of the Turn, you had cards like this that were doing instant speed, and they were arguably doing more. So the Mayhem doesn't really do anything for this card. Just says like, I can waste a resource here, not Mayhem something else, and then this is the only thing to Mayhem, then yeah, I guess you can pay 2 for it. But yeah, overall, decent limited removal, very low value though. Alright, so now we have Spider Islanders. Gross looking card. But yeah, this card's alright. If you're playing Mayhem, you get a Mayhem for 2, get a 4/3. It's alright value. 4/3 with no keywords. Not as relevant as you'd like it to be, but definitely pretty good value in terms of like just discard this, play this for 2 mana 4/3. No trample, no first strike, no nothing. So you need some other way to get this like a little bit extra value, make it really scary. But other than that, it's all right. 4 mana 4/3 though, not really what I want. All right, so now we got the Stegron Dinosaur Man. Now these names are just so tacky. They really just are tacky. It's not even about like Universes Beyond. It's just like, this is just poor design in terms of like naming conventions. That's just, some Marvel stuff is just so phoned in that you put it in any other light, it's just like, yup, that's the Dinosaur Man. You know, because it's Spider-Man. It's not Man-Spider. He becomes a Man-Spider. He needs to have 6 arms, right? But he's Spider-Man. He's just a man with spider abilities. He's not, you know, like the Fly. He'd be Fly Man, not Man Fly. This is Dinosaur Man. So he's a dinosaur that's a man. Right, okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you for explaining that. But yeah, Stegron, Menace 5/4 for 5. Dinosaur formula, discard this card, and until end of turn, target creature you control becomes a dinosaur and gets +3/+1. Don't know how relevant becoming a dinosaur is, but +3/+1 is definitely good. There's no trample. There's like a literal stampede happening here in the picture, but yeah, no trample. He's literally walking on something. No trample though. Don't know why that is. Anyways, bad. Alright, so Heroes Hangout. This card's actually pretty good. Sorcery, obviously not the greatest, but in terms of an impulse draw for 1, I really like it. So exile top 2 cards of your library, choose 1 until the end of the next turn. You may play that card. So you do have to play the card that you choose right now, so that kind of nerfs it a little bit. But yeah, you can also 1 or 2 target creatures. That's not just 1. Gain +1/+0 until end of the turn and first strike. So, you know, I don't know why the wording's like this. Maybe because they were like 1 target creature and then they're like, you know what, let's let them have 2, and then you're just like, yeah, just put 1 or 2. But usually things are worded like up to 2. So I don't understand the relevance of having it like this. But yeah, so 1 or 2 target creatures. It's not just 1 person gain buff. You can buff 2 guys, and then they gain first strike. So yeah, cool. If Heartfire Hero was still legal, then that'd be super relevant. But this card's really good. Definitely worth trying out. It's only an uncommon, so you're not losing much. But yeah, card selection. It's a buff spell. It's sorcery though, so not really opera love song. But yeah, it might be better than that. Might be worse, so I don't know. Opera love song is not seeing much play right now, so Could just be worse. All right, so Hobgoblin, a 2-mana 1/2 flying haster. So it's not bad. It's not bad. Goblin human villain. So it can go on Grixis villains. Whenever you discard a card, gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So that's pretty good. You know, Hobgoblin. Like, I always was confused when I saw this card, or not this card, but this guy just in Spider-Man universe. I was like, why do we need like Timu Green Goblin in like the same universe? It just didn't make any sense. But yeah, I mean, he's here, he's bad, and yeah, Flying Haste, cool. All right, he can get buffs by, you know, doing mayhem things. Superior Foes of Spider-Man. Creature, human, rogue, villain. Like, these types of cards are so weird flavor-wise. Like, he is definitely more one dude. This should have been like an instant or sorcery or something, I don't know. But anyways, human, rogue, villain, trample. So 3/3 with trample. Good. Don't know why you couldn't put that on a dinosaur. That was a 5/4, but it's fine. It's because they're running, I guess. Whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, you may exile top card of your library. If you do, you may play that card until you exile another card with this creature. So this card's good. This card can go in like Gruul, Stompy. It can go into Grixis because there's a lot of expensive things in blue and black and red. So this is definitely a grab. I'm definitely taking this card if I'm like see myself playing red in any way. Yeah, definitely bomb and limited, and then maybe commander if like you're doing some like kind of expend for mana value 4 or greater or something. But for constructed, no. Wisecrack. All right, so it's a 3 mana target creature deals damage equal to its power to itself. If that creature is attacking, Wisecrack deals 2 damage to that creature's controller. So this is a pretty interesting red removal spell. Obviously, if you are playing this in constructed and do this to a Screaming Nemesis, you're just trolling. But yeah, this is an interesting card. There's a lot of things that are like 4/5s with Death Touch, so they would still kill themselves. Yeah, 5/4 would kill itself. There's a lot of things that would like, you know, kill itself. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good card. Definitely one of the few removal spells in red. It's an instant as well. You know, this is an instant, but the deal 4 damage to target creature is not, which is funny. Molten Man, he's on fire, everybody. Yeah, in Molten Man, Inferno Incarnate, legendary elemental villain. When he enters, search your library for a basic mounting card. Put it onto the battlefield tap, then shuffle. Okay, so he ramps. Gets +1 for each mountain you control. When it leaves the battlefield, sacrifice a land. Uh-oh. So this card's bad. I don't know if I want to play this in any deck at all. If I was playing it in mono red, like Koth or something, I don't think I'd even want it there because it has no keywords. I think this card's just a straight up miss. Interesting flavor, but in terms of functionality, I don't think I'm playing it in limited, not constructed, definitely not commander. So I'm off this one. This one's bad. Raging Goblinoids. So 5 mana hasted 5/4 can come in with mayhem for 3 mana. So very, very good. Definitely if you're playing mayhem, berserker goblin villain, actual goblin, not dude in a suit. Definitely take that. Shocker, the Unshakable, 6 mana 5/5. During your turn, Shocker has first strike. Awesome. When Shocker enters, he deals 2 damage to target creature and 2 damage to that creature's controller. So it's kind of a 6 mana 3-for-1 a little bit almost. But yeah, he's a decent card. If you're looking for some top end and limited, definitely would take this. Other than that, garbage. Spinneret and Spiderling. So this is our first rare. This is definitely a banger. Whenever you attack with 2 or more spiders, so that's your limitation there, put a 1/1 counter on Spinneret and Spiraling. Whenever deals 4 or more damage, exile top card of your library until the end of your next turn. Let me play that card. So you need it to be 4 power, and then all of a sudden it's dealing a ton of damage. But yeah, this is like a Gruul Spider deck card, or Jund Spiders, you know, can get reanimated through Eddie Brock. So this card's pretty good. I'm definitely a fan of this one, and it's a rare 1/2, so dies to less things. Yeah, so whenever you attack, if you have 2 or more spiders, which is including this one, it becomes a 2/3. So definitely a decent card. Shadow of the Goblin. So this is a 2-mana enchantment, rare. Unreliable visions at the beginning of your first main phase. Discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Hell yeah. So that enables mayhem. And also just looting for free. It's good. You are forced to loot though, so it's not a May ability. Whenever you play a land or cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, this enchantment deals 1 damage to each opponent. So this could be good in, like, you know, Impulse Draw, Prosper style decks, and Commander. Other than that, if you were playing off top of your library with like Gwenom, or just, again, Impulse Drawing a bunch of stuff, Mayhem as well. Because remember, Mayhem is not like, well, I guess Madness would also trigger this. So if you had a Madness deck or something, you'd also get that second Undying Vengeance value here as well. But yeah, it pings the opponent. Every single damage is kind of relevant, so want to make sure that, you know, kind of building around this kind of stuff. It's definitely decent. It's not terrible. Alright, got Spider Punk. Alright, so this card is really good if you're playing spiders, of course. Riot. Other spiders you control have Riot. So what does Riot mean? If you've never played Riot, it enters and you get a choice of +1/1 counter or haste. So with Spiderling and Spinneret, this literally can come in, get haste on turn 3, and then you play Spinneret, and then both have haste, and then you're putting counters on her. Spells and abilities can't be countered, so that means that you can't get Tishana'd, and then nothing can be countered as well. But yeah, other spiders you control have Riot, so you can play Jund, you can play Gruul, and yeah, it's looking more like Gruul's the move with this guy, which is kind of relevant to the punk kind of Domri vibe with Magic. So yeah, it's pretty cool card. Design wise, pretty cool. Curious to see how they're going to like make this with through the omenpaths set, but yeah, still kind of a bummer that we don't get the same cards on Arena, but it is what it is. All right, so now we have another rare Electro Assaulting Battery. Assaulting Battery. Haha. Alright, so flying, you don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end, so that's pretty cool. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, add 1 red. So kind of storms off a bit, obviously, these lightning guys, Lightning Storm. And then whenever it leaves the battlefield, you may pay X. When you do, he deals X damage to target player. So you can kind of like charge him up, flicker him or something, and then deal a bunch of damage. Definitely feels like a commander card, but in some weird world, you might storm off with him and deal a bunch of damage, or get a bunch of mana, something. There could be a world where he's playable in standard and it looks really silly, but yeah, I don't see this as a great card at all. Human villain, it does kind of a Bergie effect. But yeah, it's not super great. But flickering him in commander seems interesting. Definitely can throw him off in commander. So if he was your commander and you built your whole deck to kind of complement this effect, then maybe. It'd have to be mono red, so you can't really flicker him. But he's interesting. Alright, so J. Jonah Jameson. That is quite the mug. So, legendary human citizen. When he enters, suspect one target creature. You know, suspect has menace, so you can label Spider-Man as a menace. Haha! Whenever creature you control with menace attacks, create treasure token. Because he's prophetizing off of Spider-Man. Haha! Yeah, flavor is through the roof on this one. I guess he could suspect himself, because it doesn't say one other target creature, so he could just point the finger at himself. I'm the menace. Yeah, so the ramp is pretty cool. I like that. Maximum Carnage. Until your next turn, each creature attacks if combat able, and attacks a player other than you, so it goads every creature for 5 mana. So not stoked about this one in Constructed. Not stoked about this in Limited, unless they're just terrible attacks. And then next turn I get 3 mana, which is cool, and then it deals 5 to each opponent. So this is a commander card. I am not touching this for Constructed, unless I just want to try it for whatever reason. Big red, it could ramp to something really cool, like an Ugin or Clive or some shit like that, but other than that, it feels pretty bad. I think it is a Clive card. Some people play Clive as their commander. That would be a good card for this card to fit in. Other than that, I'm not looking for that kind of ritual effect for 5 mana over the course of 2 turns. Like, it's not... Yeah, it's not really doing anything I want. Alright, so now we have a red Gwen Stacy, who's a mythic rare, by the way. So we have Jeskai, Modal, and exile top card of your library. You may play that card for as long as you control this creature. So there's no until end of next turn. If she gets killed, then you can't play it anymore. That's how it works. And then we'll check out the backside, but as a 4/4 Jeskai. Remember, the MDFCs can be played for their actual transform costs as well. So that is the different effect here. Spider-Verse. That's another jank commander card that could be used in Constructed. But Legend Rule doesn't apply to spiders. So you can play a bunch of spider punks and everything has multiple Riot. Riot 2, Riot 3. Or you can play this with the blue leyline and then turn everything into spiders. And then whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hands, you may copy it. If you do, you may choose new targets for the copy. If the copy is a permanent spell, it gains haste. So this applies to all spells. And then it just says the legend rule doesn't apply to spiders. So that means you can copy your spiders and they would gain haste. But you can also play this in some other like weird spell slinger deck. You know, like if you're playing Jeskai Revelation or something. Yeah, so you could copy Jeskai Revelation and play it twice or something like that. Doesn't mean every spell needs to be a spider in order to be copied. That is the overall vibe of this card. Obviously, 5 mana is a lot in Constructed, so if you're doing something with this in Constructed, it's probably jank. Probably should be winning the game anyway else. But other than that, it could be a cool thing if you have a Haymaker spell, like Jeskai Revelation as a good, easy example there. Alright, so moving on directly to green. Okay, so we have Scout the City here, 2 mana sorcery, mill 3 cards, and you may put a permanent from among them into your hand. So this is kind of like a lot of the, you know, kind of like roots cards that we have. I like this card because it kind of replaces like Seed of Hope. But yeah, you can mill 3 cards, put any card into your hand, not just like enchantment or whatever, so you can get an artifact back or creature or anything that's permanent, so no like instants of sorceries. And then bring down, destroy target creature with flying. This just being the second mode, in my opinion, makes it like a little bit better to play this card over any of the other 2 mana spells that they would play, like Cash Grab or something. But yeah, so like just nuking a creature with flying as its other mode, I think actually makes this card pretty relevant. So could be really good in Pauper as well, like Pauper Dredge or something, or you know, whatever. So destroying target creature with flying, it being like a Broken Wings on top of this other mill effect, makes it good. So good card, good common. Lurking Lizards, 2 mana 1/3 with trample. So whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. Cool. Alright, so you can get some value there. Not bad. We always like this type of effect with a keyword that's relevant. Alright, so Craven's Cats. He's got some kitties here. Cat Villain. Uh-oh. He's a bad kitty. For 2 and a green, this creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Activate only once each turn. I think that's trash. I probably wouldn't play it in Limited either. So, you know, for like 5 mana, I get a 4/4 with no keywords. No thanks. Grow extra arms. Uh-oh, he's becoming Man Spider. So, this was, I think, like when he was like talking to the lizard man scientist, and actually like becomes Man Spider from like regeneration things. And yeah, anyway, so this can become like what's that at one like pump spell. Either way, it is a decent pump spell. +4/+4 is nothing to be like scoffed at in Limited. So if it targets a spider, which I'm sure you're building Gruul spiders or Bant spiders, this becomes pretty good. So I like this. It's not a bad card. For Limited. For Constructed, probably never playing this, but yeah, even in a spider deck. Alright, so 3 mana sorcery, Kapow. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. It fights another target creature an opponent controls. So it's not dealing damage. This is him punching something. So yeah, it's alright. You know, just run-of-the-mill Limited removal. Okay, so now we have more of the 4th wall type of breaking cards. Guy in the chair, haha. 3 mana, add 1 mana of any color. Okay, web support, also tapping him. Put a 1/1 counter on target spider, so he draws them with, you know, bigger muscles. Very, very cool. I think this is probably a take in green, but yeah. So it's okay. It's not terrible. It ramping as well is pretty good. Being a 2/3 could block and kill some stuff. So it's not terrible. I think the flavor is pretty bad, and it's very, very. I like how cheeky it is, but I don't like how tacky this stuff is. It's just like very, very tacky. Professional wrestler. Okay. So Spiderman got you in the ring for 3 minutes of playtime. Alright, when this creature enters, create a treasure token. So that's cool. On rate, 4 mana, 4/4, and creates a treasure token. I like all that stuff. This is definitely like a must take if you're in green, because of the amount of value it has. And it also can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. So it's like reverse menace. It duels something. Definitely a must take. Alright, so now we have another legendary common. This, the amount of legendary commons in this deck is like crazy. I'm sure Pauper players are very excited about this. But yeah, web slinging for 3. It's a 5 mana 4/3, so definitely want to sling this in. When Spider-Man enters, Spider-Man Brooklyn Visionary enters, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. So web sling, you can go and kind of like cultivate. And it's not a forest either. This is any land. This is a good card. Flying card. I play this for 3 as web slinging and be pretty happy about it. The art is pretty interesting. It looks a little funky, but I'm guessing it's like the like extra universe kind of spider. It's like a bunch of art styles in one. But yeah, it's interesting. Spider Rex, Daring Dino. 6 mana, 6/6 with reach and trample. So the very, very run-of-the-mill limited dino. But it has Ward 2 this time, so at least it has trample. I like that. So decent card. Would take it as top end for any green deck in limited. Alright, so now into the uncommons. Spider's Man. So it's a man made of spiders. The heroic horde. So you got Man Spider, Spider-Man, and then there's Spider's Man. It's a man made of spiders. So you can make it, you play it for a 2 mana 2/3, or you can sling it in for 6, and then when it enters, if you use a web slinging, gain through life, create 2/2/1s with reach, and they're green spiders. So 6 mana, 6 power, gain through life. This is just a very, very interesting card for limited. That's about it. Good limited card. Good early game, good late game. Down. You know, this type of stuff is really good because you can sling it in, you know, for 6 here, but you can also play it early, sling it out for something, you know, say like this, Spider-Man, Brooklyn Visionary, and then play it again later. So that's what web slinging will really be good for, is you can sling in and out stuff, similar to ninjutsu, but maybe good. And here's one of the big pieces for all the web slinging decks is supportive parents. So you can tap 2 untapped creatures, add 1 mana of any color. So it's also 3 mana 3/3. So they protect and they attack, and they also sling. So they can create the web slinging element. They can also ramp into slingers. So this is a really good card. I think if you're playing web slinging at all, you probably should be playing this card because, you know, some of these cards, say like Spider's Man, doesn't really get in for that long. Same thing with, well, Brooklyn Visionary kind of gets in a little bit, but it has to be a 3 mana 4/3, not a 5 mana 4/3. So, yeah, it's okay. And again, green-white counters, so we're going to want to put some counters onto a bunch of spiders. And then we can also tap the ETB, put a counter on the thing, sling it out, and then put in one of these other guys. And then once you have 2 web slingers, you can kind of like loop those guys together. So yeah, it's in limited, that'll be pretty fun. When this artifact enters, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal up to 2 creature cards from among them and put them into your hand. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in any random order. So this is green stock up for creatures. This effect is pretty good. And then you can also sacrifice this artifact, create a treasure token. This might see constructed play. I can definitely see this seeing constructed play just in a couple different ways here. You know, you can ramp with it. You can also find 2 creatures. You know, stock up is a sorcery, so it being an artifact is like, we know drawing 2 for 3 at divination speed is good. So if we're able to find 2 creatures from our top 5 cards, not all lands and shit, becomes good. It also has the opportunity to miss. So I would imagine this is in a creature heavy deck. And yeah, so Wall Crawl. When this enchantment enters, create a 2/1 spider creature token with reach, then gain 1 life for your spider you control. Spiders you control get +1/+1 and can be blocked by creatures with defender. So you can't be blocked by wall because they're crawling the wall. And then you make a 2/1, and also your spiders get a buff. So probably a banned card, probably a Gruul card. Yeah, this is just a decent card for spider-based deck, just unlimited. But yeah, an Anthem for 4, probably not good enough, even if it makes it 2/1. But gaining 1 life for each spider you control, pretty relevant for limited, so that incidental life gain will help. Terrific Team Up. So this is a 4 mana kind of a bite spell. Alright, so this spell costs 2 less to cast if you control a permanent with mana value 4 or greater. So you can web sling in something. And then 1 or 2 creatures you control each get +1/+0. They each deal damage equal to their power to a target creature opponent controls. So this is also an instant spell. It's an instant spell buff and bite spell. So this card's actually really good. So this will be like, you know, if you're in green and you need removal, you know, that's one of the reasons why the removal's so scarce, because like they only made it for limited, so they're pretty much saying like you need to be in 2 colors in order to get enough removal. So like you can be like green, red, and then like draft every single removal spell from those colors, and you'll have like 6 removal spells or something, all different. Maybe a couple repeats as well. But yeah, this is a decent card. 2 mana bite spell, also buff for 2 creatures. Definitely pretty good. Damage control crew. Alright, so this is a 4 mana 3/3. Return target card with mana value 4 or greater from your graveyard to your hand, or exile target artifact or enchantment. So you can exile the Soulstone, or exile the One Ring. Hell yeah. Yeah, it's an enters the battlefield trigger. Decent if you just lost something like really expensive. Other than that, kind of a weird card. I would say even like a Jund card. 4 mana 3/3 that blows up in a target artifact or enchantment. A little bit below rate, but I kind of like it for limited. I would have been down if this was like a 3 mana 3/1 or something. But other than that, it's okay. Ezekiel Sims, Spider Totem. So he's a human advisor spider. Reach at the beginning of each combat on your turn. Target spider gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Yeah, he's a spider. He can buff a spider. He's a 3/5. This is probably a good enough top end. Radioactive Spider. So this card's pretty good. Reach and Death Touch. 1 mana 1/1. But yeah, sacrifice this creature. Search your library for a spider hero card. So has to be a spider hero. Can't just be a spider. So you're looking for a Spider-Man with this. But other than that, pretty interesting. Obviously you can search up a Changeling as well. So could be relevant for Changeling decks and Commander as well. But yeah, other than that, it's alright. It's not like the greatest thing I've ever seen, but it is pretty relevant for anything that's playing Spider-Mans. Man's spiders. Strength of Will. This card's pretty interesting. I think it could be a mono green stompy card. But yeah, until end of turn, creature you control gains indestructible, and whenever this creature is dealt damage, put that many One Ring counters on it. So if someone like triple blocked or did whatever to a card that you had because they had trample and they need to not die, if you played this in response to all that, it's just instant concede, because now it doesn't die and it becomes gigantic. And if they're multi-blocking, that's because they don't have removal. So in limited, this is just a complete hoser. And then in constructed, probably could see play in like a very stompy deck, something that is somewhat blockable or like chumpable. But yeah, so putting counters on a creature for dealt damage is pretty nuts. So definitely worthy of a rare. It's not like the craziest card I've ever seen, but could be relevant for something stompy. Alright, now we got Spider-Ham. Hell yeah. So this is a 2 mana 2/2 bear that also buffs a bunch of stuff. So spiders, boars, bats, bears, birds, cats, dogs, frogs, jackals, lizards, mice, otters, rabbits, raccoons, rats, squirrels, turtles, and wolves. All get +1. Yeah. And also create a food token. You know, like steal someone's hot dog. That guy's hot dog. He's like, what the fuck? And then the rabbit's like, is he like impressed? Kind of looks like he's smiling. I don't know. Anyways, goofy card, decent card for Commander. I think every green Commander card with any of these type of like creatures in the deck, like if you're playing a bear deck, you want Spider-Ham. If you're playing a bird deck, you want Spider-Ham. That means chocobos. That means a dog deck. It means a frog deck. That means a jackal deck. That means a lizard deck. That means a rat deck. That means a squirrel deck. Anyways, you get the picture. Spider-Ham, probably a commander card, but other than that, you know, if you're playing Gruul Spiders or something like that, it's probably fine to put this in there. But yeah. Okay, so Sandman, Shifting Scoundrel. This card is actually pretty good. So probably like a Golgari or like a Jund like villain deck or something, but power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. And then when it dies, you can return to the battlefield, but also return a land card as well. So self-mill, you can get him back even if you mill him. No, it's just a good card. Definitely, like, there's been a few different like cards, I think, from Omenpaths that kind of had this vibe as well. But yeah, for 3 mana, like just having this on the field and then like kind of ramping and doing a bunch of stuff like that, you know, becomes pretty valuable. Obviously no keywords there, but can't be blocked by power 2 or less. And then Lizard, Connor's Curse. This is a 4 mana rare green card. So Lizard Villain. When Lizard Connor's Curse enters, up to 1 other target creature loses all abilities and becomes a green lizard creature with the base power 4/4. So 4 mana 5/5, and then you can turn like a token that you control, like a 1/1 or something, into a 4/4, or you can kind of like beast within something on a creature's or on opponent's field. Obviously, beast within can blow up any target permanent, but if something's on their field and you want that off, and you know you're down to trade for a 4/4, super cool. All right, so definitely kind of like either a 4 mana 5/5 make 4 power on your field, so it's like 9 power almost, or 4 mana polymorph. So it's actually a pretty cool card. All right, now we have another green removal spell. Unironically, I think green has the most removal in the set. But yeah, mill 5 cards. When you do, this Saga deals damage equal to the greatest power among creatures in your graveyard to target creature. So this Saga, if it's destroyed in response to it, this fizzles because the Saga physically deals the damage, not deal damage equal to. This Saga deals. So Saga has to be alive. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe that is the case. But yeah, it's a pretty decent card, so it's a good mill card. 4 mana, remove something. Target creature you control gets +2. And then on stage 3 here, you get a Raise Dead. So just put target creature card from graveyard to the hand. And then, yeah, overall, pretty good. Alright, so let's check out the Mythic here. Alright, so you have Miles Morales. This card has been spoiled a lot. Yeah, so it's the Naya modal card. So this card's okay, it's not terrible. But yeah, it's a 2 mana 1/2, and then you can put a 1/1 counter on it and something else. So it's 2 mana 2/3, 2 counters, just good mana, good value for 2. And then we'll come back and visit the modal 4/3 version as well. But yeah, most of them are like 5 mana. I think the only one is like the white Spider-Man. That was the Bant Spider-Man. Alright, and then we got Web of Life and Destiny. This has Convoke, so you can web sling a bunch after it. But yeah, Convoke, tap target creature you control to pay for 1 colorless. At the beginning of combat on your turn, look at top 5 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among those cards onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any random order. This is great, really great spell. If you can afford to play this in your mono green stompy deck, hell yeah. If you're playing like green white tokens, this can be really, really good. You can like put Overlord and Mistmores onto the battlefield. There's a lot of things you can do with this. In Commander, obviously people are going to be fighting over this card. It's going to be a must kill on site, and they're probably going to kill you if they see this, or counter it. Make sure that you don't have this thing, because looking at the top 5 cards and then just straight up like natural ordering something, like, well, it's not a natural order, but it definitely is just fetching a creature. Pretty scary. Alright, gonna take a little break here and then into the modal cards. Alright, so we're gonna get into the modal cards here. Alright, starting with Skyward Spider. Alright, so this is common, Ward 2, 2/2 for 2. Has flying as long as it's modified, so with Bant, this is actually pretty good. You can get like, put a counter on it, 3/3 flyer for 2. Pretty awesome. Has Ward 2 as well, so this card is actually going to be a house unlimited. There is a chance that it sees constructed play as well, because having Ward 2 and becoming a flyer for 2 is like pretty relevant. So you can put counters on this in blue and white, and yeah, becomes pretty good. Alright, so now we have Wraith, Vicious Vigilante. It's a detective hero. And no, it doesn't have a hat, so Merge Carlab Manor, what was all the hats for? Alright, so double strike, Fear Gas. Wraith cannot be blocked. So, yeah. This is like another card similar to like Skyward Spider here. It's like you want to put in like some kind of Bant like counter deck or something, or like mono white counter thing. Not like mono white counters unlimited, but yeah, it just doesn't have much value for constructed. Although, you know, of course, having something that just cannot be blocked with double strike is good. 3 mana, your opponent has a lot of time to set up and remove this, so it'll be very hard to stick this in constructed and actually like buff it up and get in. But yeah, if you do get in with it and put auras or counters on it, yeah, you're gonna win the game. So pretty decent card. Look out for it in constructed, but overall I think it's a little bit of a miss. But yeah, it's an uncommon. Sun Spider. So we got Spider Human Hero. Double during your turn, Sun Spider has flying. It's a 4 mana 3/2 modal Azorius. When Sun Spider enters, search your library for an aura equipment card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So obviously it's going to go in cloud decks, and it's going to be pretty relevant in Commander. I'm sure people will just kind of slam this in their Commander decks for equipment that are in these colors. Obviously fits into Cloud, and then does a lot of other stuff. But yeah, like a Cloud stacks mono white deck, probably this could be really good in. Also can search auras, so it's a decent card. It's not bad. Spider, piloted by Penny. Yes, it's a 5 mana 4/4. When Spider enters, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. That means it can put it on itself too. But yeah, whenever a modified creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So this is really good for limited. For constructed, it's a little bit above rate. For Commander, it could be good enough. It's just having like that whenever, not one or more. This is really relevant for modifications and stuff, because you can just like, kind of like Enduring Curiosity, just draw a bunch of cards. So, yeah. Alright, we got our rares for Azorius. Spider-Woman, Stunning Savior. So this is a really good card. It's gonna like go on like a lot of people's sideboards for stuff. But yeah, artifacts and creatures your opponents control enter tapped. So it's like Authority of Consoles, but gives you a 2/2 flyer. So if you're in these colors and you can play this card, I think you will have this on your sideboard. Maybe even in more formats than we even know right now. Could be Legacy, could be Modern. But yeah, overall, having a 2/2 flyer that kind of like nerfs your opponent's next turn until they kill it. Very, very relevant, specifically in those formats. So, you know, also is a flying 2/2. Just gonna keep reiterating that because that is pretty relevant. 10 turn clock. Alright, so another Azorius rare here. Artifact equipment. When this equipment enters, attach it to target creature control. Awesome, already love it. Equipped creature gets +2/+2. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card for each modified creature you control. This is really good. Obviously, this is going to go into like a notorious like equipment deck for not only standard but for commander. But yeah, drawing like a bunch of cards can be super relevant. Like Astrologian's Planisphere is a modified creature. You can also equip the Planisphere with something else, and then you have 2 modified creatures because Planisphere gives a counter. That's a modification. So this is a really good card. And then the equip cost is not even that high, so I think it's a really good card. Alright, so this is a Dimir common. We got, when this creature enters, target creature you control connive. So it's a 0/3, so you might want to connive onto it so it can go 1/4, good blocker. But yeah, connive, pretty relevant in Dimir. Also, Grixis, Mayhem, that kind of stuff. Prowler, actual Dimir card here, Menace. Whenever another villain enters, Prowler connives. So again, the villain connives in Dimir is super relevant there. So that's kind of its own archetype within itself. Morbius kind of did him a little dirty here. Is definitely not the cool Morbius that we know and love from the memes. But yeah, 4 mana Flying Vigilance Lifelinker. So it's definitely, you know, going to be a threat. 3/1 with all those keywords, pretty good. But yeah, so when it dies in your graveyard, you can exile this card from your graveyard, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand and the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. So you're not like surveilling 3 and drawing 1. You're scrying 3 and drawing 1. So it's an alright card. Definitely a limited, but if I was in Dimir, I would definitely be taking this card. It's definitely something you have to deal with or create a blocker for. So yeah, it just really easily gets chumped. You know, you can just put Carrier Pigeon or whatever in there and just like, that kills Morbius. So I don't know about that flavor. I would have definitely opted for a 4 mana flyer to be a 3/2. It does have a lot of keywords though. Alright, so it's a 6 mana Dimir flyer, 4/6. So it's a pretty good top end. But yeah, when Vulture attacks, other villains you control gain flying until end of turn. So it should be a game ender in Dimir villains. So definitely want to look out for this card. This is going to be the card that you have to kill. But it's a 4/6, so it's going to be a little bit hard to deal with. Symbiote Spiderman. So this card is actually very good for Constructed. So we're going to definitely keep an eye out for this one and try them out. But yeah, modal Dimir. So whenever this deals combat damage to a player, look at that many cards from your top of your library, put 1 of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. So, you know, scry surveil 2 now and then draw 1. But you can also buff it and then exile this card from your graveyard and put a 1 counter on target creature you control. It gains this card's other abilities. So it's not until end of turn for this. This is just permanent, kind of like Renew from Tarkir. So this card is really good. It doesn't have any like keywords or anything, so it's not gonna like trade super well like Preacher of the Schism. But this card's really good. Definitely gonna try it out. 2/4. Alright, so now we have a 4 mana 4/4 Dimir, and this is gonna be like a reanimate spell. But you can have it enter as a copy of any other creature in the graveyard, except his name is Superior Spider-Man, and he's a 4/4 Spider Human hero. When you do, exile that card. So exile that card with this card, and then, you know, it becomes that card. So this can be like, there's some cards in or decks in like Best of 1 and Fringe, Soul Tie Reanimator, and Best of 3. But yeah, this will be an interesting card for that because they play Zombify to reanimate stuff for the most part. So having another like 8 Zombifies in your deck, and then this one just kind of putting into play as a 4/4, pretty good. You know, obviously it's gonna get the ETBs as well, so it's definitely not a bad card. All right, so now we have the Mythic Dimir card, Mythic Dr. Octopus, Master Planner. Other villains get +2/+2. That's a huge buff. It's 7 mana though. So your maximum hand size is 8 at the beginning of your end step. If you have fewer than 8 cards in hand, draw cards equal to the difference. So 7 mana, 4/8, +2/+2 all your villains. draws like 3 to 4 cards right when it enters, unless like you have no cards in hand, in which case it'll draw 7. So this card's pretty good. I don't know if it's constructed playable because that rate's pretty high, but you can reanimate this, right? And then you have a 4/8 that's like gonna draw you a bunch of cards. So I think this card might be really good in reanimator decks. It can definitely see some play in like just hard casting. It almost is Atraxa, but yeah, it's really good. And then also buffing all your villains by +2, super lord. So very good. Pumpkin Bombardment in the Rakdos modal cards here. So as an additional cost to cast a spell, you can discard a card or pay 2. So this is like your extra removal in black and red for limited as well. Also enables Mayhem. It's probably one of the best Mayhem, you know, like enablers in the set for limited. So yeah, deals 3 to target creature is really good on rate for 1 mana. Obviously, like Lightning Axe is way better for constructed, so you're not putting this in your Pioneer deck, unless like you're just straight up trying to put it in like, you know, I don't even know, like Esper Greasefang or Abzan Greasefang or something, because you don't have access to red in those colors. So now those colors kind of get access to a Lava Axe effect, or Lightning Axe, not Lava Axe. Scarlet Spider, this is another Mayhem card. When it enters, you may discard a card. If you do, put a 1/1 counter on him. So you can Mayhem for 1, and then you can trigger another Mayhem effect. So this can be like a really snowbally card, especially with Masked Meower, which is like one of the best enablers for all of Mayhem. So now here's another mutant villain. This can go in Dimir, it can go in Rakdos. At the beginning of your first main phase, you may discard a card. When you do, target creature can't block this turn. Whenever a creature opponent controlled dies, deals 1 damage to the player. So yeah, kind of like old school Judith. But yeah, so it will enable Mayhem pretty consistently, and then it will also deal a bunch of damage to them. Other than that, it's not really getting in, so unless you're Mayhem, you're not playing this card. So this is 5 mana Green Goblin, Mask Off, I guess. Another like uncommon here, Flying Death Touch. Whenever Green Goblin attacks, discard a card, so it enables Mayhem. Then draw a card for each card you've discarded this turn. So you could like have the other discard effects and then discard a bunch of times before doing this, and then draw like 4 cards. So this could be good. This could be very good in limited. 5 mana 3/3 Flying Death Toucher and constructed, not playable. I love this card. So Ultimate Green Goblin is definitely a beater for 3, 5/4. You begin your upkeep, so not when it enters. You discard a card, then create a treasure token. You also Mayhem him in for 3, but it is a legendary creature, so you can't have more than 1. But yeah, good ramp, good Mayhem enabling for 3 mana. Maybe it's not playable because of that, because it's 3 mana for constructed. But other than that, if you Mass Meower turn 3 or whatever, draw a card, put this guy in play, you know, he's kind of like a kill on sight. Or else you kind of snowball out of control. It's just a giant snowball. You know, it looks like the phase 3 overpowered version of Green Goblin from like Dragon Ball Z or something. It's like, this is phase 3, but phase 4 he's small and like controlled, because like the bulkier you are, the less like agile and scary you are. Anyways, this is another really good Mayhem card, Carnage. This is definitely the signpost card for Mayhem. Like if you see him in limited, you draft him, pack 1, pick 1, and you're forcing Mayhem from there. Obviously you want to be a little bit more open than that, so I definitely keep an eye out for other like really good rares. This guy's a bomb, so he's a 4/3, possibly 2 mana with Mayhem here, and then he enters, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. This creature attacks each combat if able. When this creature deals combat damage to a player, sacrifice it. So pretty much the best way to like keep the mayhem going is like reanimate like Masked Meow or something, sacrifice that, enable mayhem again, and then you can like keep the loop going. But yeah, other than that, it's like really good. Yeah, Trampler for 2 would be really awesome, so definitely worth the rare slot. All right, so now let's go into the Gruul modals here, starting with the commons here. We got 2 mana 2/2 modal Gruul Spider Manifestation Reach. Add Gruul, or red or green, whenever you cast a creature spell or cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, untap this creature. So you can kind of like get back a little bit of your value there. Rhino's Rampage. This card's really cool. You can give +1/+0 to a target creature, and then X damage destroys up to 1 non-creature artifact with mana value 3 or less. So it doesn't mean that you need to deal +3 onto something. Means that you just need to deal a little bit of excess damage, and then it will destroy any non-creature artifact with mana value 3 or less. And then here's the Gruul Craven. Not the greatest card, but it is a vigilant creature in Gruul for 3, which is weird, but I guess it's okay. He attacks and he protects. Craven power is equal to the greatest mana value among permanents you control, so this may be really good. It could also just like lose its value immediately, so I'm not super down for this card, but yeah. His power is equal to greatest mana value among permanents, includes him, so he's a 3 mana 3/4 with vigilance in Gruul. Alright, so Rhino, Barreling Brute, 7 mana card with 2 red and 2 green, so you really got to make use of him if you're playing this. But yeah, Human Villain in Gruul, whenever it attacks, if you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater this turn, draw a card. That includes him because he has Trample, Haste, and Vigilance. So, you know, he's just barreling down at you as a 6/7 for 7. Draw a card. You know, so this is definitely like hyper aggressive for limited, but constructed probably not. This card's kind of weird. So this is a 2 mana bear at the end of human season. You know, bear because of stats. At the beginning of each player's first main phase, that player may put a 1/1 counter on this creature. If they do, they add +1 colorless for each counter. So that means at the beginning of your opponent's main phase, they can put a counter on this and get +1 mana. So they get the first hit of mana from this. But if they do that, then on your next main phase, they can, you know, give you +2 mana, and so on and so forth. They get +3 next time, but you get +4. So obviously, this can really backfire. This is like group hug for Commander. Like if you play this on turn 2, you're first in line, everybody can just ramp up, and then it gets to your turn, you're super ramped. Downside, even in Commander, is like by the time it gets back to you, someone will be like, oh, I'm just gonna kill it now. Like that would be pretty mean, but again, this is Commander. Probably not gonna do that because people don't like to like ruin the vibe because it's just trying to vibe. So definitely like a Commander card, group hug. But in Constructed, could it be playable? Sure. Could it just give your opponent +1 mana to kill it? Yes. So yeah, I would beware of this one. Scarlet Spider, Ben Riley. So this is a rare. It's kind of an older Spider-Man. But yeah, Web Slinging for 2, Trample 4/3. If Scarlet Spider was cast using Web Slinging, he enters with X 1/1 counters on him, where X is the mana value of the return creature. So this can become a giant 2 mana creature. Yeah, I think this is just like a pretty good value creature, and then Web Slinging and like Gruul looks kind of like strong, especially if you're playing like Naya. So definitely a good limited card, possibly even Constructed. Alright, so now another modal Selesnya card. 2 mana, 1/1 draw card. So very run-of-the-mill, chill. Be played in mono green, mono white. Spider Girl, Legacy Hero. During your turn, Spider Girl is flying. Whenever it leaves the battlefield, create a 1/1 green and white human citizen token. So it could be like a blink target, whatever. It's not super great, but it's not super bad either. So Spiderman India is 5 mana, web slinger for 3. So whenever you cast a creature spell with put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control, it gains flying until end of turn. So when you web sling this in like Bant or Naya, this becomes super good. So it's another like uncommon bomb. If you web sling it out, people will have to kill it. 3 mana 4/4, and it's giving you like counters and stuff. Like this goes out of control limited, so you want to keep an eye out for that one. Web Warriors, when it enters, put a 1/1 counter on each other creature you control. So 5 mana for this effect is crazy. So this is another like weird design cards like Web Warriors, but then you have like a bunch of cards that are in a set. It's like, why are they all just included in one card? I don't know, but anyways, it's fine. It's a decent card. I think definitely worth playing in limited. All right, so Mary Jane, human performer, 1 in a modal Selesnya. Whenever a spider you control enters, draw a card. Only triggers once per turn. So maybe it's good, maybe it's not. Only drawing 1 card is a little bit of a bummer. So it also says spider, so that doesn't mean they all have to be Spider-Man. So this could be good. This card's a banger. So Silk Web Weaver, another slinger for 3, but this is a 4 mana 3/5. So whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 1/1 green and white human citizen token, and then for 5 mana activated, creatures you control gain +2 and vigilance until end of turn. So amazing card. Even enables itself by web slinging a card back into your hand, so you can play another card, which is a creature spell, and then get the 1/1 counter. So this in Spider-Man India, you know, in limited, that is the wombo combo. If somebody has both of those, you're probably losing, and they're probably getting 7-0. So this is a great card. Maybe even it makes me think that like green white in limited is like busted if you have this like package. All right, so now the spot. This card is not really great on the surface, but yeah, you can exile up to 1 non-land permanent and up to 1 other non-land permanent from a graveyard. But yeah, if you start flickering this stuff, because it says when the spot dies, not when it leaves the battlefield, goes into exile or goes back into your hand, put them on the bottom of your opponent, bottom of owner's library. If you do, return the exiled cards to the owner's hand. So that means that you could flicker this or put it back into your hand because he's not dying, and then the exiled cards just go away forever. They're lost in the dimensions. So this can be cool for that. 5 mana 4/4 though in Orzhov is a little bit awkward, so not sure if this sees constructed play. Definitely something Commander if you're playing a flicker deck in like Esper or Orzhov or Abzan for whatever reason. This becomes much better. So Mr. Negative. So 7 mana 5/5. Vigilance on lifelink. When Mr. Negative enters, you may exchange life totals with the target opponent. If you lost life this way, draw that many cards. So if like you're in Commander and you play this for 7, oh god, and you're like at 40 life and someone's at 30, you can just draw 10 cards, no problem. So you can just draw 10 cards out of nowhere and then like, you know, go off. Also has Vigilance and lifelink, so you draw 20 cards. You know, this is like a crazy card draw spell. Obviously if somebody has Smothering Tithe, you're effed. You can never play this. But, you know, definitely a constructed, like, almost constructed card. Like if you had Endstone or something, you can go and just, like, deal 10 to an opponent. Something like that. And then, I don't know. This card is a little bit iffy for constructed. I would say probably never. But in Commander, probably crazy. But yeah, conditions need to be right. Alright, Spider-Man 2099. This card's really cool. You can't cast it on your first, second, or third turns of the game, similar to Jace. Double strike and vigilance though. At the beginning of your end step, if you played a land or cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, Spider-Man deals damage equal to its power to any target. So, you know, it could be like Jeskai, it could be Izzet for Izzet Profs or something like that. And then you can play like Winter Night Story from your graveyard, put a bunch of counters on this guy. He probably will be the only card for like VV that you would put into the deck. But other than that, yeah, this card is pretty good. Probably going to Izzet VV, unfortunately, but because like you wouldn't want to cast this any earlier than turn 4 anyways. Like this is like a card that you'd want like as a 1 of or 2 of, and just like, yeah, this is just another like gigantic card that's gonna win me the game. Because it has double strike and vigilance, like it's just gonna kill everything. Alright, so now Kraven the Hunter. This card's pretty good. Similar to like Shovel, you remember that card. Draw a card and put a 1/1 counter on the Kraven if card with greatest power dies in opponent's control. So Golgari for this and has trample. This card's pretty good. I'm down to try it out. But yeah, overall, like goes well in Golgari because Golgari likes to kill everything. So this probably will draw a card every turn. Then we have Aranya, Heart of the Spider, pretty much a Jeskai card. Boros can also use it with like Boros equipment or stuff like that. But yeah, whenever you attack, put a counter on target attacking creature. That's just solid. So for 3 on this is just really solid. Definitely going to see constructed play. I think this is probably one of the more constructed playable cards I've seen from the set. So, and then whenever a modified control creature you control deals combat damage, exile top card of your library. So she immediately modifies things, and you can just, you know, exile top card of your library and play that card. Has to be this turn though. Alright, now Jackal, Genius Geneticist, 2-mana Simic. Whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value equal to Jackal's power, copy that spell. In Simic, this should be pretty easy to put a bunch of counters on him, but he also self-perpetuates. So whenever you play a 1/1, he gets a counter, copies that 1/1. So you can play Jackal on turn 1, plays Siren or Llanowar turn 3. He gets a counter. And obviously, like, this isn't like once per turn. So on turn 3, you play Jackal, or turn 2, you play Jackal. Then you can play a 1-drop into a 2-drop. He becomes a 3/3, and you get like 4 permanents. So this card's crazy. This card's nuts. Then we have our 5-color Spider-Man, Cosmic Spider-Man. And then flying, first strike, trample, lifelink, haste. So 5 mana haster with all that stuff. At the beginning of combat, all the other spiders you control gain all that. So you can play them in like 5-color changelings and do all this stuff to everything you control in Commander, and this becomes crazy. Or you can play it in 5-color spiders, whatever. This is more of a Commander card, but it's definitely pretty crazy if you can pull it off. Alright, so alright, next step for the artifacts. Alright, let's get into the colorless cards here. Colorless and artifacts, usually all artifacts. But let's see what we're doing. Alright, so we have Bagel and Schmear. Okay. Pretty interesting food artifact here, but so we actually have like something else that's not like food on this. It's like tap for 1 white, sacrifice this artifact, put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature, draw a card. That's actually kind of good. So, you know, 2 mana for that. I think it's pretty worth. Also, it doesn't come in tap, so if you play this on turn 2, play something else, play this on turn 1, play a 1/1, tap this on turn 2. Pretty good. It's just good value. Pretty value based. Also taps for white, so it's like, or costs white to tap. So goes in everything that's trying to put 1-ring counters and stuff, and you draw a card, so it's pretty good. Alright, got Subway Train, 2 mana, 3/1 artifact vehicle. When this enters, you may pay 1 green. If you do, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle. It's a really good fixing, especially if you're going like, you know, multiple colors here, especially with green. So play is turn 3, and then you can go and search your library for a land. Crew 2, 3-1. The vehicle part of this is pretty bad, so I wouldn't put any weight on this. I like how he's trying to catch the train here. Alright, anyways, Spider Bot. So this is a 2 mana 2/1 with reach. When it enters, you may search your library for basic land card, reveal it, shuffle, and put that card on top. Classic limited mana fixing here. Really not great unless you're like, you know, keeping a 2-lander or whatever and trying to draw your next land. But either way, these are not the greatest fixing, but they are fixing nonetheless, so. Can block a flyer. That's the most important part of that. Eerie Gravestone. So we have Spider-Man digging himself out of a grave. 2 mana. When it enters, draw a card, so that's cool. For 1 and a black, sacrifice this artifact. Mill 4 cards. You may put a creature card from among them into your hand, so that's not bad. 4 mana round trip, but over the course of 2 turns, you know, mill 4 cards. It's a lot of milling, but, you know, maybe if Roots wanted this, I don't know. Mostly just limited. So all these commons are just like for limited. They were made for limited, so I don't imagine these getting much play. It's kind of like the Thopter thing. Thopter, like, forget the name of that card, but it is a 3 mana flyer that creates a 1/1. But this creates a green and white human citizen token. News helicopter, not great, but does create 2 bodies for 3, so it could be worth something if you're putting a lot of like counters on stuff. It just gives you bodies to like put stuff on. So we're seeing like kind of like a package here of like really, you know, baseline, you know, kind of colorless but have a colored ability type artifacts. Whenever this vehicle attacks, you may pay 1 blue. When you do, another target attacking creature can't be blocked this turn. So this one's actually good. There's a chance that it might see constructed play, but for the most part, in limited, this will be very annoying to deal with. You'll have to trade with this somehow. I don't know about using a removal spell on it because it's so scarce, but trading with this, especially when it's making something unblockable, definitely not something you want to keep around. It does crew for 2 as well, so it's not even that big of a downside there. Okay, Hot Dog Cart. This is a 3 mana rock. Creates a food when it enters the battlefield, and then add 1 mana of any color. Decent color fixing, creates another permanent, so possibly commander playable, probably not, but yeah, make a mana. Mechanical Mobster, human robot villain, 3 mana 2/1. When it enters, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. Target creature you control connives. So that's decent. If you're into mere villains, you know, this kind of just fills a role there as being a villain and connives. The Steel Wrecking Ball, this is the red version of this kind of like little cycle here they did, which I like. It wasn't bad. You know, it wasn't like super crazy, like awesome ability that they would span out through multiple sets, kind of like Sephiroth and Nemesis. But when this artifact enters, it deals 5 to target creatures, so 5 mana, deal 5. That's perfect. It's on rate. Do it in any color. For 1 in a red, discard the card, destroy target artifact. So this could, in theory, be played in other constructed formats that potentially want to like have some kind of uncounterable abrade effect. So I don't know. I don't think it's that good, but it does the thing. Spider Suit, 1 mana equipment. Equipped here, equipped creature gets +2/+2 and is a spider hero. In addition to its other types, equipped for 3. So this is actually pretty good. There's a lot of like stats you get with this, and spider hero does matter in this set. So it'll definitely make things that aren't spiders or heroes more relevant. Spider Slayer, Hatred Home. It's a legendary artifact creature, human villain. When Spider Slayer deals damage to a spider, destroy that creature. So it's like Spider Hate, Hatred Honed. For 6, exile this card from your graveyard. Create 2 tapped 1/1 colorless robot artifact creature tokens with flying. Not blockers, but you can do this at instant speed, like on the end of your turn or something, and then end step on opponent's turn. But yeah, it can block pretty much any Spider-Man and kill it. It's decent. Spider-Mobile, 3 mana vehicle, trample, 3/3. When this vehicle attacks or blocks, it gets +1 until end of turn for each spider you control. That's not even that bad. That is actually kind of good. Like if you went like go wide and like green-white spiders, this is decent. Living Brain, this is another legendary artifact creature, which is pretty rare. And it's uncommon. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target non-equipment artifact you control becomes an artifact creature with base power and toughness 3/3 till end of turn. Untap it. So you can like turn a food into a creature, whatever. This is actually pretty good. It's unfortunate that it wasn't like an actual like common. But I guess common for that, pretty good. All right, so Doc Ock's Tentacles. This, I'm not sure if this will be super good in Constructed, but you can definitely like play with like Nova Hellkite or Quantum Riddler or something, and then equip it. Anything with like haste and it's 5 mana or greater and warp, it's like pretty good. Might try this in like Grixis Haste because it has a lot of that stuff. Yeah, +4/+4, Nova Hellkite is like, it's a gnarly amount of stats. You just get smacked for 8 on turn 3. Other than that, it's a little bit awkward. Decent card though if you're able to like fulfill this condition here. Now Peter Parker's Camera, this is the first rare. This artifact enters with 3 film counters, which is native to this card only. 2 and a tap, remove a film counter, copy target activated or triggered ability you control. This is not a spell, it's only abilities. And then you may choose new targets for the copy. So that means planeswalkers, that means any type of triggered ability from like a spider, hero, whatever. In general, this is pretty good. This is not a bad card. You definitely need to find the right home for it, but if you play this on turn 1, somebody might be incentivized to kill this because they just don't want to see what you could possibly do with it, which should probably be fine. This is another rare rocket-powered Goblin Glider. Artifact equipment, if it was cast from your graveyard, i.e. its mayhem cost, which is for 2, attach it to target creature you control, which doesn't need to have mayhem, but equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has flying and haste. So it's actually pretty good. Obviously you need to be able to discard it, unless if you don't, then it doesn't really do much. But if you like fear of missing out or something, you can like turn 4 play FOMO and then mayhem this into play and then get like 4/3 flying for missing out. That becomes pretty good. Alright, Iron Spider. This is a rare legendary artifact creature spider hero. This is the Stark upgrade. Vigilance. Put a +1 counter on each artifact creature or vehicle you control. Remove 2 1/1 counters from among artifacts you control. Draw a card. So this is kind of like still Overseer, but it also puts a counter on itself as well. Also has Vigilance. So this card's actually pretty good. I would definitely put it in like an artifact deck. I was like trying to do stuff like Soul Overseer. This would definitely go in that deck. Because it also can draw cards too, so, and that's not a tapped ability. Interdimensional Web Watch. It's another rare artifact. When this artifact enters, exile the top 2 cards of your library. Until the end of your turn, your next turn, you may play those cards. Add 2 mana in any combination of colors. Spend this mana only to cast spells from exile. So, kind of a 4 mana draw 2, but yeah, I mean, you could, you know, ramp are the cards that you just, you know, drew from exile here. Yeah, I don't know about this card. Definitely like a Commander Prosper out of 10 kind of card, where it's just like, yeah, it'll be cool and Prosper, obviously, but it's definitely not something that I'm like excited to build around. Just because it costs so much for Constructed. At least the cards, you know, are drawn this turn, and it doesn't come in tapped. So you can like draw a 2-mana spell and then play it the same turn. So it's, you know, kind of like free ramp almost like 2 mana for this. All right, so that's gonna do it for all the artifacts here. Then we have like some of the lands and stuff. This is the like common land cycle here. It's just every single color combination. You're gonna need these for limited for sure. And then also for 4 in a tap, you can surveil 1. That's gonna be the same for all of them. Then here's like a new Evolving Wilds. Don't know why we needed a new one, but that's definitely there. Daily Bugle Building. It's just kind of like the limited mana fixing. Also, you can tap for 1. Target legendary creature gains menace until end of turn. I'm sure that's probably good in like Commander, like Voltron decks. If your like Commander is supposed to have a bunch of stuff attached to it and like whatever. Doesn't give it unblockable though. Here's the actual good lands. So Urban Retreat. This is a Bant land. We've had lands like this in the past, so this one has an activated ability, and it's not for tap either. So you just return the tapped creature you control to its owner's hand. Put this card from your hand onto the battlefield. So this can actually ramp you, which is pretty interesting because you can bounce a card and then put this card, put Urban Retreat, onto the battlefield. So for 2 mana, you can just put this into play. As sorcery, obviously, but yeah, it's just like really interesting. I think this card in particular might see a lot of play, especially when you're playing in Bant too. It's like, you know, I'm sure you're gonna have ramp and you're gonna play Land of Wars and stuff, but if you go tap, turn 2 with Land of War, return Land of Wars to your hand, also have another green spell on the battlefield, you can go and ramp yourself to 4 mana on turn 2. And then on turn 3 you'll have 5 mana, which could be very relevant. I don't know. So this is a really good card. That ability is kind of cracked, so we'll see what happens. And obviously it's not legendary at all, so you can do this multiple times if you have 4 copies. Okay, so this is Oscorp Industries. It's the Grixis land from the deck, or from the set. So when this enters from the graveyard, you lose 2 life. So Mayhem costs, I can discard this land, put it into play. This is a little bit different than this ability. So you can like put this card from your hand onto the battlefield, where that doesn't like apply to the 1 land per turn. I'm pretty sure. But this, since you're putting into play, and you may play this card, this does not ramp you. So if you had nothing else to discard and you just wanted to like discard this land and then put it into play as your land for turn, super awesome. So these 2 lands, super good. Probably some of the best like fixing that we have in the set, as well as like for standard for these colors, because they do push a lot of these like color combos for standard right now, so it's really nice to get these. Alright, we got Multiversal Passage. This is like the super big chase land for the set, and essentially this is like a shock land, but it's a single basic type, and it comes in untapped if you pay 2 life. So, you know, turn 1, if you didn't have anything to play, you can just play this basic, you know, and you know, pass turn or whatever. But yeah, it's similar to like the pathways from like Kaldheim, where you can just like choose one of the pathways you want to go in. But yeah, obviously 4 of, not 8 of, you know, usually for like multicolor decks. But yeah, this is going to be a really sought after land. I imagine this is probably going to reach prices similar to what Starting Town is, because 2 and 3 color decks in standard really need this type of fixing, because everybody has verges but no way to like turn on the verges efficiently. So we're seeing like green white decks with like 10 like basics and stuff in order to like make sure their verges are turned on consistently, because they don't have any actual like shock lands for either of the colors. So like Bant in particular, like that's going to be a really tough one to like pull off, because we're missing Temple Garden and Hollow Fountain. So, you know, there's like a couple, you know, color pairings like that, and so we just really want that to, you know, land with this, and Multiversal Passage is definitely going to be the way to get that going. So I'm gonna have to buy this. All right, and so that's gonna be it for the set review here. Obviously there's a ton of like extra, you know, secret guests, special guests, whatever. Nothing really too crazy. We have like Najila reprints, Path to Exile. Then you have some like the commander cards only. These are like the I think welcome deck cards as well. Yeah, for the most part, my take on this set is it definitely feels like there's a lot missing. It definitely feels like these arts are like so sick. This makes me bummed that's not going to be on Arena, because I love these cards. But yeah, for the most part, it feels very lackluster in terms of like the depth of the set. The cards and the flavor, there's definitely a lot of like bangers, and the flavor's on point. So there's nothing to be critiqued there, I think, and I think everybody's set reviews kind of like reflect that. But for the most part, the set feels like it's missing something, and it's probably because they you know, had to redesign this for standard, and they kind of just patched it. They didn't really like redesign a lot of the mechanics and cards to feel very unique. And yeah, so it's just like, in terms of like a Magic standard set, it doesn't feel right. Definitely something feels off. I definitely am more stoked for Avatar than I am for these cards. But, you know, doesn't mean that there's not some like really good cards. Like these 3 lands are going to be like, everybody's going to need them if you want to do any of that stuff. Multiversal Passage is going to be really, really good. As far as like individual cards from the set, this almost is like kind of, if it doesn't speak to you, you don't need to buy it. I'm like failing to find like any like really specific cards other than like some uncommons that'll just be like, no, you're gonna need this. Symbiote Spider-Man's like one of those cards, like if you play Demir, you'll want that one. So it's like, I feel like there's gonna be pop-up cards that will cater to Commander for the most part. But yeah, for the most part, like I feel like Standard almost could dodge a lot of these cards, and you probably would be fine. And unironically, like Final Fantasy kind of has that effect on Standard right now as well. Other than like VV and like a selection of a few other cards. Definitely Starting Town has had a big effect. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff from this set that's just like, unless you're trying to build around this one mechanic, specifically like even villains, like this is not like Outlaws from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. This is specifically things that say villain on them, kind of like Ally. Whereas Ally, though, it was a little bit different because you could like actually see the synergy between some other things, but like Party or something like that. Like Party was another one, like Party from Zendikar. Like that definitely like had an effect where you could like see like, okay, all these different things fill up my party. But then even that was pretty bad because you had to fill up your entire party, and it's like, it's so many different types, it's just like not worth it. Yeah, Outlaws is just like, you know, so many different things
qualify as an outlaw. So like things like shoot the sheriff will just like randomly not kill something. But yeah, this is all just very much like has to be a spider and a hero, or else it doesn't work. Has to be a villain. Eddie Brock is one of the exceptions where he's actually a hero and a villain, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, so for the most part, you might be able to miss a bunch of these cards. I definitely am not going to buy any boxes for this set. They're way too expensive for the type of impact I see them having. Definitely if I was like trying to like chase some like collector versions of Soulstone, Gwenum, other things like that, I'd be like super into it. But I'm not. I just want to buy the basics and then kind of move on from there, because a lot of the other cards are just like, yeah, I can see them in a limited environment. I can see how this might affect like individual cards might affect certain decks, but there's not really many other cards that are just like, let's just put this in. Like, here's a good example of like, this can just go into mono green Stompy. This can just go into like some kind of graveyard land deck. But for the most part, it is like asking you to like have a lot of the conditions filled and then use some part of this card in order to like, enable it. Like things that need villains, things that need spider heroes, those, they'll just kind of like fall out. Like they're just kind of like special, like niche cards that might have an interaction in Commander, but for the most part, you're gonna want like more, geared cards for certain things. Like say like Selesnya has a bunch of these like modal cards that, web slinging, make a dude if you cast a creature, like that's super good. And that on its own can just fit in a bunch of Selesnya decks. But for the most part, you're going to be looking for cards like this, like Heroes Hangout, where it's like, okay, I see everything this is doing, this is great. But if you're looking for something that turns something into a dinosaur, probably not what you're looking for. So, obviously those are like commons and shit. But I think the take kind of stands here where we want the more generically good, generally good kind of cards. And we can kind of pass on the extra stuff because it's just all like very, very specific. One might call it parasitic. So, there's things to be done. Like I can't wait to like try Gwenum, but again, I'm not trying this in MTGA because you're getting through the omenpaths version of this. And yeah, playing this in paper might be a bit of a nightmare because it's going to cost so much, because I don't believe that this is going to sell as well as Final Fantasy, but that remains to be seen. We'll know the numbers when it comes out and we'll be able to value it from there. But yeah, anyway, so thanks for checking out this set review, and hope you got some insight. There's a lot of takes specifically on like Limited and Constructed, some Commander stuff, but yeah, for the most part, I'm going to always evaluate stuff based on like their standard relevance, which is Limited and Constructed. And yeah, so anyways, thanks for stopping by and hanging out. Hopefully you'll leave a comment, like, or subscribe. And thanks for vibing. All right.